to the front porch of Babs's bungalow. My name is Barbara, and I am joined by a very, very special guest. Why don't you introduce introduce myself? Introduce yourself. What a... Yeah.
Hey, we all have our mistakes with this kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, so I'm ChernyVolk, also known as, like, the secondary villain of the NRS community besides Tom, I guess.
It's so fucking
like,
funny watching the NRS competitive community from the sidelines because, like, Sonic's off doing their own thing, and at least to my knowledge, but Tweety's trying to chill out, and then you're just being like, come on, guys.
Oh, well, there's a little bit of a difference, though. Like, Tweety's a friend of mine. And the thing is, Tweety also, he does like this game. But I think he's getting a little exhausted defending it against people, because, like, it's not that I don't think Mortal Kombat 1 has some problems. I do partially agree with Tom anyway that I do think the power level should go up a little bit across the whole cast. I think there needs to be some, like... I would argue, though, less so that it's a power problem. I just think there needs to be more unique things in the game. I kind of think too many cameos are coming down to all they do is extend combos, and you get very few unique things out of cameos. Like, that's why, like, Tremor, for example, Tremor is like this cameo that's meant to be adaptable to any kind of matchup, for example. But you have to manage the stances, and you have to deal with the fact that the best options are all the ambushes to put him on much longer cooldown, right?
Right.
But things like WoW, like, you know, we hit the WoW meta, which is annoying, but, like, I still don't agree with the way that they handled nerfing that, because, like, to me, the problem was never that the hat was +2. It was never that, you know, you could put down the hat and charge it. It was always, the problem was, it was one of the best neutral control cameos in the game, and it gave you easy access hard blockables because hat was low. And I said from day one, all they should have just done was just make the hat a bit. So it could have stayed plus. You could have even kept the launching hat spin on reversal and wake up, and it would have been fine.
Hell,
But
I
it's
mean,
like,
sorry to interject, but, like,
look,
if I may interject on the Lao thing, like, thematically, I understand why the hat is a low, but I think it shouldn't immediately be a low. Like, almost like, I can almost picture, like, when he throws the hat down, it's a mid until it touches the ground and travels a little bit, then it becomes a low. You know what I mean?
yeah, but the problem is it doesn't solve the problem I'm talking about, which was the reason that people hate a low hat was characters were literally vortexing you with hard to blockables off at any touch. When we have two hard to block facilitating cameos in the game, which are Tremor and Darius, which require very specific setup, and the reward is the exact same as, like, WoW was, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I understand that. I think there's a problem where. So, are you just like an MK fan, or would you say you're like a broader fighting game fan? Before we go on.
I got my start in fighting games with Super Smash Bros. Melee, then MK9
Yeah.
because it had Kratos. And then I just
Yeah.
exploded from there once Injustice came out, because Injustice had the back-to-block system, which I could not figure out. But then I learned that Street Fighter had a back-to-block system, so I'm like, okay, this is a good excuse for me to pick up Street Fighter. Grabbed Ultra Street Fighter
Right.
4 on a sale, learned how to back-to-block from there, and I just kind of bounced around from there. Like, I've played Tekken, I played BlazBlue, I've kind of played everything under the sun, at least in terms of genre, but I'm not like, but Jack of all trades is a master of none. Maybe better than a master of one, but those masters of one, dear Christ. All the respect to the masters of one, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So the reason I'm bringing this up is this is kind of, I'm going to talk about Tekken for a minute. That's why I'm asking. So there's a content creator for Tekken that I really like. He's kind of given up on it because he doesn't like Tekken 8 at all. This guy named Frame Whisperer. And he talks about something that's clear trend in Tekken. You can notice in 7 is that Namco will obviously be afraid to touch certain characters and strategies because they're like fan favorite things. And I think that NRS runs to a similar problem where they don't want to get rid of the low hat with loud strategy, for example, because so many people just got so attached to it and it would be too much of an uproar. Like, loud could be the top one cameo after removing those hard blockables, but because NRS players like stuff like that, there would be too much of a fit pitched over it.
Yeah, like the only thing that trips me up is that I'm a big fan of move design matching like move mechanics. So in my head,
yeah, I do.
But at the same time, sometimes you gotta make caveats for when. Oh yeah, and this is for Cameo Lao. Let's not forget that main Lao, like Point Fighter Kung Lao, fun fact, has one of the fastest hard to blockable mix-ups in the game, I found, or at least 50-50s. Because what is it? Back one has 6 frames.
Yeah.
Which is like.
And there's also the fact that with the right cameo, like the thing about Cameo Wow that I think is crazy is that he literally just launches you off of these like little incidental hits because you use things like Movado to launch, because a lot of his like little low overhead mixes that do like 5% are counted as launch states, right? So you can use cameos that let you convert off like float states really easily. So and I know there's a lot of people that they don't like that Lao is not like quote unquote Kung Lao in this game because he doesn't use his hat a whole lot and everything. I think personally, I think this is kind of a stupid criticism that applies to a lot of the character designs in this game, because this is like a do-over, and the Kung Lao of this game is not supposed to be like the experienced Kung Lao of other NK games. It makes sense to me that he would lack some signature stuff because maybe he literally has not learned or come up with those techniques yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like.
Oh yeah, and that being said, Kung Lao, MK1 Kung Lao came out way good in the MK1 era compared to some other characters that I'm like, Dominic, when I see you, I want to give you a come on, man. You know what I mean? Like, I do not know why he felt the need to Dungeons and Dragonsify Rain and Tanya. Like, tell me they are not a wizard and a paladin, respectively. Like,
They sort of are, yeah.
But like, it's like I totally get like why many of the really drastic changes are upsetting me personally. I'm still pissed off about Kuai Liang being Scorpion. Why? But like, Kung Lao actually kind of, I would argue, came out better for it, because it's always nice to see young Lao, and I mean, at the very least, the getting to see the inspiration for the hat was actually something that I really was actually sort of a slice of backstory that I really liked. It's like, you always wondered, how did he come up with the hat? It's like, oh hey, this encounter with ya boy did the blah with the Wii.
Right.
It's one of those things where the story was a stopped clock. It was right about twice a day, which was ironic because
Yeah.
I think the story takes place over the period of like 6 months. So, you know, do the math. It kind of adds up.
Like, okay, so you said before we got on the call, you said you wanted to talk because of we're in this like rest period now because we're waiting for the next combat pack to start rolling out, and I'm assuming the next season of the game. So what is it exactly that you're wanting to talk about in regards to that break? Like, or are we just talking about what are our actual in-depth thoughts on the game up to this point?
Yeah.
Or what's the deal?
Yeah, exactly. Because this is a really good, this is always a good kind of point in time where it's good to look back at everything that has changed to see how far we've come before we get a taste of the new shit, the animalities, Noob Saibot, both of the, well, it's weird to call them the Borgs, but, you know, the Condiment Girls.
Yeah, Condiment Girls.
I love that. I love that people are so fucking pissed about those two, and it's like the only criticism I can ever say is valid is that they are not actual cyborgs. Like, I get that criticism, but like them being chicks or the Botswanan accent, I ought to cuff some people upside the head.
Yeah, no, I understand. Personally, you know, listen, everyone always wants to say I'm like a little SJW all the time anyway, but I think the designs for Cyrax and Sector are better. I do. I think they're improvements over the original characters. Now, personally, this is a big thing, okay? I'm like what I like to call like an actual fighting game dweeb in the sense that I do not give a shit about lore or story. I only think what matters is like outward character design, appearance, to how the game plays. That's all I care about in any game.
Yeah.
So like, I am not invested in the same way in the changes to them that other people are for obvious reasons I just stated. But just purely on aesthetics, I think they look the best they've ever looked, and I think the idea is better. But like I said, like that's the thing. I became known for these games because I started playing these games only because of them being the first to getting around to having rollback in their games. That was it.
Well, yeah, because rollback wasn't a thing until MKX's. I can't remember that was that before or after Combat Pack 2 that rollback came out for MKX.
It was after. If I recall, it was after the game was finished, basically.
Right.
They did that, and then they did that last game overhauling update where they removed all the launchers and all that stuff.
And yeah, when they made overhead lows. When they tried to tame overhead lows, but my slow ass can't fucking keep up.
Well, it's not the same though as in like newer NRS games. Like MK1, most of the mix like that is very reasonable. Like the problem with MKX, that was the thing that I think was a core criticism for a lot of people, was the fact that a lot of the game was just defined by these options are unreactable and you just have to guess. Like so much of the game is boiled down to that.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat X was like, you want offense? How about we give you fucking power thirst in terms of offense? Like, I have, like, in terms of fighting games, speed, I think Mortal Kombat X might be the fastest I've played. Save for maybe a touch of Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but I genuinely could not keep up in MVC 3. There was actually too much shit going on. But...
yeah, MKX is like, I think Tom said this, it's like an anime game without the defensive options of an anime game, which is like kind of what created a lot of the problems of the perception of that game, I think.
Which is hilarious because it, like, I'll be completely honest with you, I'm quite nostalgic for Mortal Kombat X. Because it was the game that really got me into making YouTube stuff, and it was the first game that I got on my PS4, and, you know, this, that, the third, nostalgia glasses and all that, right? But, like, looking back on it, a lot of what I like about Mortal Kombat X, I'm glad stayed in Mortal Kombat X. You know what I mean? Like, I am really glad that characters no longer have 12-frame launching overheads.
Right. Yeah.
Or launching attacks that have 2 hits of armor.
No, I agree. But I enjoyed MKX as a train wreck. Like, it was something funny I could laugh at and have fun with, but I did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
As someone who likes fighting games. That's how I would put my time on that game. But, anyway, so... okay, I guess we can start with, like, I'll let you start. So let's just do, like, a one-sentence summary of what we both think about the game at the moment. So I'll let you go first.
Well, I don't remember exactly when, Quan Chi launched. I think that was, November last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, November last year. Well, it's nice to know that Mortal Kombat's launch has been pretty good since then. I mean, it's nakedly obvious, and I'm glad that that it's being called out for it. But I mean, it's so obvious. It's kind of hilarious. I mean, Who remembers back in the launch of Mortal Kombat 1, right? When Sub-Zero's Meter Burn Ice Clone always cost 2 bars.
Yeah.
Or,
well, Sub-Zero's a different topic altogether, though. That I think that's a little complicated. I think that
oh,
LS
oh yeah, but
does
like
not
that's
know
just
what to
that's
do
just
with
an
that character.
example of the that's just an example of the wait. They seriously
Yeah.
thought that was a good idea?
No, yeah, yeah.
And then
Um,
we come to now where things are manageably what the fuck.
yeah. Okay. So here's my take on the game so far. As a competitive game, this is where I get a lot of heat from people. Of the NRS era, so MK9 onward, this is the best game they've ever made from a competitive standpoint. Like, as far as the depth goes, as far as, like, what kind of decision making is rewarded goes, all that stuff, I think this game is the highest skill cap NRS game. Even compared to MKX, because most of MKX was just combo execution, and that was it. I didn't feel like there was much. I mean, you had to know armor gaps and things like that, but that was just about as far as it went.
Again, it was
And I think
it was offense the video game. So
yeah. So, and I think a lot of people can agree that by the time we hit that infamous Evo Grand Finals where it turned out all Sonic had to do against Second Master was switch to Alien, a lot of us were pretty sick of the game by then. It had become very monotonous to watch by that point.
seeing
Um,
Alien in competitive, because I don't dabble into competitive nearly as much as I used to, but like seeing Alien in competitive, watching Evo Grand Finals was a fucking nightmare, dude. Because it's like, Jesus Christ, I get that Alien is supposed to be the unbeatable life form, but I think they took it a little bit too far.
yeah, I don't know what they were thinking when they made that character. And truth be told, like, I gotta be honest, I'm amazed that Takeda did not come out somewhat busted, because he does have a thing that has always been broken in these games, and that's Rekka's, right?
Yeah.
We went through Alien, and we went through Tanya and MKX, and I was just waiting for that to happen again when they announced he as a Rekka. When in MK1, the Rekka's not even like a standout feature of the character. It's kind of weird to me. But anyway,
It's this is the thing about Mortal Kombat 1 character design I have noticed is that especially for the DLC Mortal Kombat characters, they really want to follow a specific gimmick with them to try and make them look unique, right? Like Ermac has more soul shit than he's ever had before. Quan Chi, like, does mystic crap and summons a Cthulhu crab to beat the crap out of you. Which, by the way, I was hoping we would actually see that thing eat enemies, but one day. And
that
then
was a missed opportunity.
yeah, and then Takeda, which is like whips and offense. Like that is kind of what they did with Takeda, and like I get it. It's what he was in Mortal Kombat X, and there's no Ronin, which no, Ronin didn't have a Rekka in MKX because none of them had a Rekka back then. But like the trap shit is with the shurikens now instead of with the lightsabers, but
Yeah.
Sylvie on that front. So I feel like they were like, "Oh, let's show off all the whip stuff." And I'll be honest, back to one Rekka launch into back to one back forward 2. It doesn't do a lot of damage. But it's just fun because it's all whips. It is flashy as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No, I mean the animations are pretty good in Takeda.
yeah.
And also, I'm gonna tell you right now, I do not buy this like he's like bottom tier talk.
No! He does too much shit to be bottom tier!
No, listen. There's one thing that I know a lot of people got really upset about that Tom said recently, but it's the truest thing in the world. It's that NRS players are stupid. They're really fucking stupid. They don't even know what they're playing. They have no idea what the power of something they have in their hands is, and they have no idea how to problem solve. So that's where you get these takes um, like I remember Natara is bottom 1 discourse. And like, if you just look at what that character does
Bottom
on base level,
5,
it's
maybe, but
impossible
like,
for that character to be bottom 1.
yeah,
Like, she was
no.
good day 1 of the game, right? Now, of course, she had some issues they had to fix, right? But I don't really consider things that are bugs that get fixed into like a character balance discussion. Like, there's obviously things that should have been fixed, but she was capable of fighting top 1 characters before they even fix her bugs.
Yeah.
Um,
I've seen some really dedicated Notara mains make her work because I will say sometimes the health gap feel is kind of nuts, but I mean, Natara has enough damage to close that gap, you know.
well, yeah, that's the point, and that's why, like, especially like it's like especially like okay, so like Tom and I were talking about, for example, the health nerf to Farah. There's a lot of people that are crying about that, but like, why would you want that to be in the game? Like, typically in a
Guilty.
fighting game, a set player or Mixo character is balanced in games that have differing health values by the fact that they die real quick,
um,
right? Uh,
I will say this. I was guilty of it just as a gut of a knee jerk, just because of a knee jerk reaction. Because I was like, oh, take away the thing that makes her unique. When, you know, my stupid ass forgot that she's got fucking Tor stance just in its entirety. So, you know,
yeah, I was gonna
me
say
having a
like,
blonde moment is one thing, but
yeah, there are so many people that are complaining about that nerf. It's also what I don't like about a lot of discourse around these games that I've run into is okay, so I will say I have a different perspective than a lot of people because my first time seriously getting into NRS games was so I played Injustice 2. That's why I really tried to learn how to be really good at NRS games. And even though Injustice is a bat to block game, there are still a lot of things that are common threads between both MK and Injustice that you can look to,
because
like where
they're the
strings work and things like that.
same studio shit, yeah.
Uh, so the thing is, I played Black Manta in that game. That was a character that really like opened that game up for me. And this was a character that people swore up and down was like mid tier at very best. And
I've
if
seen
he's not if he's not a top 10, he's like 11. Like that character
I would say
destroyed.
I would say he's 12th personally.
But
Just out of 41 characters, because I count the turtle separately, he is 12th.
yeah, but that was the thing I was always dealing with was people kept telling me I was playing a bad character, a character that was able to win without having to engage you one time because every time he blocked you, you retaliated with a gapless string into 5% chip. Like you could literally kill yourself on that character if you didn't have better footsies and player playing the matchup play. That's
He's
what I liked about that character. So you basically killed yourself the longer it took you to open them up. And there are so many people that don't get that because I do think that MKX led to a lot of community brain rot because there's definitely a sentiment in this community that if a character doesn't have a plus on block staying frame 50-50, the character's bad. Like, there's this perception that if you have to play neutral, the character sucks. Or the game sucks if it requires you to play neutral, which I think is always really funny.
no,
Um,
no, no, no. I was always thankful for branching off of Mortal Kombat when I finished up my Mortal Kombat X content to do Ultra Street Fighter 4 because it taught me because I feel like I actually learned how to play fighting games like as at like in terms of actual like competitively decent quality was in
yeah.
Ultra Street Fighter 4. And I mean,
They worked
I
that
love
out.
Mortal Kombat. I love Injustice. You know, I'm a bit of a I'm a lore whore sometimes, and I love the games just because of how ridiculous they can be. But every once in a while, I have to look back and think, yeah, NetherRealm is nuts. sometimes a little too nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the things I've always liked about their games. Is I've always liked the fact that they're always willing to try new things, even if they turn out to be stupid. But like, they're willing to try them, which I appreciate. Um,
Always trying new shit, yeah.
but yeah, I think that that's part of the problem with, and I think this is common criticism about MK11. So, for the uninitiated, or if you don't actually know, I don't know how much my history of the scene you know about. I think that MK11 is the worst modern fighting game ever released. I think it's like, it's genuine garbage, in my opinion.
Oh, here's what when you just say modern fighting game, I presume you mean within the last 5 or 10 years.
Yes, I mean as far as standard quality of life and the standard of quality of the balance of fighting games.
There was so much baffling shit that happened in Mortal Kombat 11. The one time I had a dedicated online series was in Mortal Kombat 11, and I mained Kotal from season 2, when season 2 was first a thing, all the way to when I was done with MK Online.
Right.
The fucking roller coaster ride that they put Kotal Khan on in terms of balance was ridiculous. Like, he went from bottom tier, I would say bottom 5. A lot of people said bottom 3. I said no. The range is never a bad thing. Plus, the cat was underrated, in my personal opinion. Especially when that thing got buffed.
Yeah.
And then when he got the health in the third variation, he was like, I feel like he was knocking on top 5. Maybe he was top 8 around that time because they overtuned him.
My understanding is it's a lot of people's takes on the game after the fact, and he's like top 5. Yeah.
Well, I played Kotal, and he was a friggin' machine. And then they toned him back down to where he's at now, and he's really fun to play now. Personally,
Yeah.
I'm actually really excited for Conan because I hope he has enough shades of Kotal because of the big honkin' sword.
You know, I really hope. Like, this is gonna sound crazy and like wishful thinking. I really hope that they have the sense to add in like a skin for Conan that just makes him into Cole. Because so many Cole players, I can tell you right now, they are not happy. Because listen, we all know that was a Cole model swap. They didn't really think they were going to put Conan in the game at first.
No,
I swear to you, it's going to turn out when we see that character's moveset and the specials and everything. It's going to have obviously been Cole, and they just like redid the skin textures.
oh yeah, and here's the thing. I hope that they not just do that with taking inspiration from Kotal for general shit. I also hope they don't just look to the movies for Conan's inspiration personally, because Conan is almost 100 years old. He's been around since 1932. I really hope, because one thing I really applaud NetherRealm for is that they're generally really good about their guest characters, with certain exceptions in mind. But I'm just hoping Conan is not one of those exceptions. I'm kind of side-eyeing Mortal Kombat 11's replacement for Ash Williams.
Yeah.
Like RoboCop, I love you, but like, you deserve to be in a better fighting game.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. So, yeah, as far as my opinion on this game goes, though, MK1, I think it's the best game competitively. I do think it has problems and things that need to be addressed, but there is a problem with this game right now where a lot of the complaints that people are having about the game are actually just skill issues. And the reason I say that is because, first of all, the amount of people that you can look at who are placing in like online tournaments all the time in MK11 that have just vanished is very noticeable. It's almost like the Thanos snap occurred, but only in our scene.
Liu Kang making his new era. We're gonna have actual
Yeah.
fundamentals.
Yeah, exactly. And like, and it's so weird too because like MK11 will always be a perplexing thing to me because I could tell and I understood that what they tried to do is they tried to make a trend down game where their idea was that it would be very fundamentals intensive. But then the problem is that we found out about the auto shimmy, and then all of a sudden there were characters that literally had a vortex, like a true vortex off the most basic options in the game, strike throw, or they didn't. And the characters that didn't were just bottom tier. That was it. Like
Yep.
they couldn't do that, or they didn't have a move that allowed them to break neutral all the time, like Jackie, for example.
Fuck.
Then the character was unplayable.
My
Right?
my secondary was Scarlet. Imagine how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah, Scarlet was like garbage.
I love her new moveset in Mortal Kombat 11 in terms of like how it looks and how it flows, but it's like, again, because Mortal Kombat 11 is a fundamentals-based game made by NetherRealm Studios, which I love you guys, but your fundamentals need some work. Always have. That's always been kind of the thing because, you know, Mortal Kombat's always bounced from gimmick to gimmick over the years that they don't stay set long enough to actually develop a solid core set of fundamentals, whereas, like, you know, Street Fighter's kind of operated on the same core set of fundamentals since 1991.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it's just a caveat that comes with being the studio that bounces around a lot, is that you don't, is that, well, it's jack of all trades, master of none, you know? You kind of suck in some places. And in the case of NetherRealm, they've never been good at neutral. They have never been able to get neutral and fundamental stuff right, because Mortal Kombat 9, like, when they very first, like, tried to do that seriously, the balance was so whack, it was comical. Like, random frame advantage was a genuine thing you had to worry about. Mortal Kombat...
Oh, I know. I was there.
Cherney's been around for long enough to know that this is legit shit. Didn't you used to compete in MK9 too?
No. So, I kind of give a brief synopsis of my story. So, I always loved fighting games, but I had the curse of growing up in Bumfuck, Tennessee in the early 90s. And
growing up where?
We do have a respectable scene, but that's like in Memphis, for example. And I live far away from that area, you know, like where Little Majin lives and all that shit. So I never got to play with other people until, I was around like Street Fighter 4, T5 DR, and then Tekken Tag 2. And then I attended my first offline ever I got to attend was with Injustice 2 Combo Breaker during IPS Season 2. Like I lived in it. Like, people like to say that it would have been possible to become a good fighting game player back in those days before rollback became the standard. But no, I can tell you, if you did not live in the right location, you were fucked. You were never going to be able to be good.
Well, you were never gonna get past a certain level, right? Like, you were never gonna be able to take that.
Yeah. Like, you could learn things, and that's what I did. I learned advanced concepts, so now being able to apply them in real matches, like combos, things like that. And that's what I would do, is I would just practice, like, I would legit sit in T5 DR practice, and I would do nothing but practice electric wing off fists, even though I knew I was never going to do them on anybody anytime soon. And to this day, all because I did that, even though I never played T5 against anybody, I can do consistent electrics in every Tekken game.
Well, there you Well, I mean, there you go, right? I mean, if I'm, I usually don't like to boast, but when it came to Smash, because that was the very first fighting game I ever played, me and my brother were super competitive into it with each other, and we used to
Yeah.
have to drive 14 hours, 14 to 18 hours to get to where we would go for our 2 weeks vacation after school for the first few years of school. And my dad, being a technical wizard, managed to wire us up with Super Smash Bros. Melee and a little CRT monitor. And we would play 999, I think it was 999 lives. It might have been 99 lives, but we would just do that over and over and over and over again until, the trip was done. So,
Yeah.
so in terms of just hammering it out and just playing the game that long, you're going to pick up advanced tricks one way or the other. But it's a whole different beast trying to apply that when you're actually fighting competitive players. Like when I first got into competitive was in Mortal Kombat X, and I played against Ragnarok back in the MKX days, and he cooked my shit. We played 46 games. I won 3 of them.
Yeah.
But in Injustice 2, I did a little bit better, but that's because I was with a group for a little while and bounced off of them. And I like DC, just as a verse, so I was just like, ooh, look at all these characters I kind of figured out how to play by default, because, oh my god, Green Lantern, despite the changes to his special moveset, it's like riding a bicycle, bro.
Yeah. So, that's funny you say that about NRS's history with taking good neutral games or having their fundamentals nailed down, because we had that game and people hated it community wide. It was called Injustice 2. That was the best game they made from a traditional perspective, because they had actual footsies in it. Archetypes were genuinely strong in that game. People complained about zoning so much in that game, but the zoners in Injustice 2 are zoners in any other franchise.
Well, I think Deadshot may have been just a touch overtuned at launch, but I don't think he needed to get smashed in his entire special move kit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
That aside,
I think they never should have nerfed Deadshot personally. I think they should have just left him as was.
Oh, I see what you... Yeah, I would agree to that, but on the condition that they buffed people around Deadshot, because Deadshot's a damn good zoner. But that means I would say everybody else needs to be damn good everywhere else. And that's fine, because if everybody's damn good, everybody's gonna have fun, And Injustice 2 is my favorite fighting game of all time, and the one I have played the most amount of. I have put an unhealthy amount of time into Injustice 2.
My ranked hours count on Injustice 2 alone is 2K hours.
In total, I think I have 3,600 hours played.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So that was the thing that drove me nuts too, was everyone cried about that game when it was the most legitimate fighting game NRS made at the time.
And continued to be throughout the DLC, because none of the DLC were busted. I feel like, my personal standings on which DLC they picked aside, they did a damn good job of making the DLC not feel super busted, there wasn't an alien situation for a little while. There wasn't an alien situation, at least to my immediate knowledge.
No, there wasn't really. No, I mean, there were some characters that could be annoying at the time if you were competing, like Starfire, with the way that Twee started using Cameranian chars to change the very nature of the way that you could pressure her. That was annoying to deal with.
But that was cool, right? That was a fantastic, that was something only Starfire could do.
Yeah. That's what I initially came around to. It was well, no, it's good that this is the game. It's annoying to deal with, but you can outplay it. And I felt the same way about a lot of other characters that people complain about. The only character to me in Injustice 2 out of the entire roster that was egregious to me was an optimized Batman. but that was so rare that wasn't even a thing you had to consider.
Because anybody who was playing Batman in Mortal Kombat or in an Injustice tournament was probably doing it because Batman is their favorite character, not because Batman is actually kind of insane.
Yeah, and I don't know this day. I think Forever King started to near the end of the game's life,
Yeah.
but no one's taking advantage of the fact that he had bats that he punished Midas too. Like
Uh,
nobody did that.
yeah, like I know
So
it makes me personally giggle, but I'm personally glad that Bruce finally took the crown as most busted Bat character because I'm glad that fake Batgirl in Injustice 1 is no longer the most busted Bat character because, dear Lord, when you actually look at what Batman can do in that game, it's like they forgot the Master of None part of making him a jack of all trades. He was good at everything.
yeah, yep. He's got everything, and he had the vortex, and he had the best armor attack in the game,
And he
and
had the
he had the
fastest
best.
punish.
Yeah, and he had the best um, meter burn back three in the whole game, and he had the best meter burn forward three in the whole game because it went over loads and pokes randomly, and it could randomly cross up. Like, oh man.
Like, I understand the upsetting nature of the fact that Catwoman can somehow basically slip under the stage with her back three, but
Yeah.
Bruce Man got off scot-free.
Yeah, I never understood that. Like, but that was the only thing at the end of the game's life that I was like, I don't really like dealing with this. But like, I liked playing against almost every character in that game. Otherwise, I mean, when you're competitive, when you're trying to like really grind it out and be competitive, of course there are characters that like if they give your character a hard time, it's going to annoy you and it's going to feel unfair. But like in hindsight, there was nothing that was ever really like that bad in Injustice 2.
And
I mean, I know there were people didn't like certain characters, of course. Like, I think that you'll never find anybody besides Brainiac players that like Brainiac, for example.
Brainiac is
But,
so funny to me because I had a friend back when I was frequenting Facebook, and he and I used to grind out Injustice 2 a lot, and his Brainiac was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure you've played it before. I'm trying to remember his name at the moment, but
don't tell me it's Mason the Moo Cow.
sorry?
Is it Mason the Moo Cow?
Mason the Moo Cow? I don't think so.
Okay, well, I try to remember. I mean, the only Brainiacs I played against, like for practice, were Mason the Moo Cow and then Basic Stupidity. That was it.
I don't remember. I don't think it was any of those two then. So I apologize for presuming, but yeah, his Brainiac was absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
like that character. You watch that character actually move, and it's like that is a very interesting way to nail down Brainiac's 12th level intellect. But fucking hell, that must be annoying to fight against. Oh wait, it is because I've had to fight against that thing, and I've never won a first to 10 against that man. Marvin, I
Yeah.
think his name was, or something.
Oh yeah, Marv. I played that guy too. I played it too. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
His Brainiac was stupid, man.
Yeah, I thankfully play a character that had a good matchup against that character because Manta Rockets basically shut down his neutral altogether.
Yeah,
But,
well, try playing Flash, Lantern, Sub-Zero, Raiden. Most of my characters that I like to play got
Yeah, all
absolutely
those characters had a hard time with Brainiac, yeah.
got chewed the fuck up by Brainiac. But I mean, that was one of the things I always took pride in myself in when I was hardcore into Injustice 2, is that I loved the franchise of the DC Comics so much that I bounced around the franchise in that game more than anybody else. I honestly think I played 3/4 of the roster at one point online.
Yeah.
I would have played more if certain premier skins were an option. Like I would have been a Grodd main if Soul of Art was an option, But
Yeah.
but that's a character for another time because I think Grodd was this close to being busted.
No, Grodd is busted. Rod's like, I think Rod's top 10 in that game now.
Yeah?
Especially because, like, I'm in the Injustice 2 Necro Discord with a lot of people, and I've watched the small events that happen. And, like, every time I see Lego enter one of those and he plays Rod, he makes that character look like he's just pure, straight up unfair.
No monkeying around with that guy.
Like, Lego literally jumps in full screen one time, it hits you, and then the round's over.
Seriously? Like, just from that amount of, like, mix and damage?
Yeah, well, so the thing about Grodd is that if you know how to properly optimize, so the thing about Grodd that made it hard to do a lot with him was the fact that if you wanted his optimal combos were very hard. For one thing, there was a big execution barrier there.
Yep.
And you had to have full meter because where he really got his damage was not off regular launchers. He did bounce cancels.
Oh,
you know, when
yeah.
You would cancel a string into a back or a 4-3, right?
So you always needed at least 2 or 3 bars lying around at all times if you wanted to pull off a combo. So you had to be careful with how much meter you spent.
But the thing is, like Lego, he would. So let's say you're playing like a character that's more footsies oriented, like Catwoman, right? So let's say you're playing Catwoman and you're playing against Lego. If Catwoman did her infamous, I can't remember if it was back two or it was the whip low that went like full screen almost.
Oh, like the whip sweep.
Yeah, the whip sweep.
That's like you have to be crouching, like you know you have to do like a crouch block and then press heavy attack. So 3, I think.
Oh, okay. So what would happen is you would watch Lego play like a Catwoman, and the Catwoman you would see the startup of the sweep, right?
Right.
And Lego would on reaction do the command jump. And then he would do jump 2 into stand 3 bounce cancel. The first combo did like 60% and then the follow-up reset after the restand would kill the person.
That's fucking ridiculous.
And this was a character that would do this. Like, the thing is, he didn't even have to play aggressively, even though he had the run cancel pressure and stuff. But he didn't even have to do that because he could just play defensively, block all game, and then as soon as he got one opening around, the white bar was gone.
Right.
Like, that happened so many times in that game.
And opening way easier when they buffed him so that he could do the projectile immunity out of trait activation. So like he would trait activate into it. So when he started doing that, like that opens up a world of possibilities because all of a sudden, well, you can't zone against Grodd anymore, at least with projectiles.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
Which you know, when the guy has a full screen jump,
the thing was really in the roster, because of that though, it kind of invalidated Cheetah's place in the roster. Like he just did what she did better in every way. He had more health. His frame data was better in every way because it was actually plus on a lot of things. He actually had pressure because he had stampede cancels.
The only thing Cheetah had really was hitboxes then, eh?
Yeah, pretty much. Like Cheetah was just the worst Grodd by the time when Grodd got figured out.
Which is one of the downsides of having so many characters. You get a lot of similarities, and when you have 2 characters that are basically crazy murderous monster beasts, there's unfortunately a lot of overlap.
Yeah, it's gonna happen typically with that.
Which is why I personally feel, you know, they should have revisited Cheetah, but that's just me.
So when it comes to MK1 though,
back on track.
I feel like it's their best game next to Injustice 2, and I think it actually is. It's like fundamentals wise, it's the best MK game. The footsies in the game were really good, despite what people say about like doing YOLO move and a cameo assist. The game does have neutral, and it has some of the best neutral the game's ever had. Well, because like people complain about full screen move and a cameo, But let's be honest, how many times were people doing full screen move in the cameo and they were getting offense afterwards? Usually, you were still negative enough you couldn't just press your turn after doing that,
Yeah, you had to be
right?
like the only character I can think of that could get like from full screen is Liu Kang with meter burn low fireball, but like you had to have Motaro. You couldn't do it with Kung Lao, I think.
Yeah, and even if you did it that way, you were kind of dealing with how do I put this? Like the problem with that too is that Motaro is good now, but Liu Kang gives up a lot to use Motaro. Health
Yeah.
plus you're not hitting anywhere near as hard as you usually would, amongst like other things, right? So like
Turret does not help
that
with
was
Liu
really
Kang zoning nearly as much as one might think, too.
yeah. That's like when people had a problem with like, for example, like Peacemaker Kano. Um,
I fucking love Peacemaker. He's such a funny
so
character.
first of all, anyone who ever tells me that MK1 has no archetypes, I have to believe that person doesn't pay attention to the game or understands it. Because what did you see Peacemaker doing at Final Combat? Was that character really just like you guys really thought that character was just doing torpedo in from full screen mixing people? Most people are playing like very solid zoning keep away with that character, but archetypes still exist apparently. In
Yeah, like they're almost blatant, I would argue, in Mortal Kombat 1. Like, I mean, Ashra is your general footsies character because of her sword shenanigans. Geras is, I
yeah.
think, the closest the game has to a grappler right now, which feels weird because I don't, unless I'm mistaken, there are no grapplers in Mortal Kombat 1. Are there?
Well,
Like, Reiko's the
that's where
closest, but like,
the problem is that involves getting into like particulars of character archetype design, right? So the problem is like people look at Reiko and they say, well, why does he have a good projectile? He's a grappler. Well, he's not a grappler in that. Okay, so in my opinion, when you hear what a grappler is in a fighting game, I think this applies across the entire genre. You're thinking of a character with a command grab that you don't want to get hit by because the consequence of getting hit by that is you get set played to death, right?
Either
So,
yeah, especially because that command grab can do an unholy amount of damage in some situations on its own.
right, right. So the thing is, when it comes to that for me, I look at it's a character I want to use as an example for talking about this. Um, like I look at like Commando Kano in MKX. That was a grappler because that is what you were afraid of because meter burn command grabs are doing like 21% every time he hit you.
His tick
In a
grabs
game
were
where
insane. Choke was an excellent combo ender just for
yeah,
setup. You had the counters as well, which I believe the meter burn ones were among the fastest in the game.
yeah, and they also did 21%,
Yeah.
like the command grabs.
Yeah,
So
the only better parry was Sonya's X-ray, but that was because it was 2 frames.
yeah, so think of, but the way I was talking about this with Tom yesterday because he was bringing up Reiko, and Reiko is a zoner with a command grab. So think about that. That means that whenever you get in on Reiko, which is what he doesn't want, you still have to worry about him doing reversal command grab when you're so minus.
Oh,
So that means
especially with cameos like Tremor.
yeah. So that means that technically, um, he's actually got something that kind of puts him over the top as a zoner, right? Because you could get command grabbed into 30%
Minimum.
because you lost your turn against him after you finally got in on him, right? And because his typical combo structure off of that command grab usually leaves him like spaced out from you, he's still maintaining his archetype of being a zoner. So like, yeah, like I think there's clearly archetypes in MK1, and I think they do get rewarded for playing that way. That's like smoke, right? So like, that's my character in the game. Obviously, it's what I'm known for, and I make a lot of content on YouTube about that character. And I think that there was a fundamental misunderstanding of how that character works. Because what people, because once again, this is an NRS, right? So what they see is, oh, he has a low and overhead, but the overhead's reactable, so like it's not real, therefore the character's shit. When the character, what he really excels at is he excels at being able to get a hit and then just like run away from you all game. That's
Yeah,
what he does.
like as soon as like smoke is literally about as soon as he gets in, it's over because he's not about the he's not about opening you up with ridiculous mix-ups. He's about getting that hit and making sure your turn is over from that point on.
Yeah, pretty much. Like either, well, you don't even have to do it that way, right? So it depends on the matchup. So some matchups, yeah, what he wants to do is he wants to get a hit, and then he set plays you with like loops out of invisibility or something. But other matchups where that's never even a consideration, like all he literally has to do is get a life lead. Like he can throw you once, and then the round can be over because your character cannot catch up.
Because
It's
oh my god, he basically plays zoning like Sonic and Brawl. He literally is like, I'm gonna just get these hits. I'm gonna stay away from you. I'm just gonna peck at you once in a while if I need to, and then I'm just gonna go in for the kill when I have everything I need.
yeah, like so smoke is like it's kind of an archetype that it still exists, but it's not referred to this as this title anymore. Have you ever heard of a pixie character? Like, do you know what that means?
A pixie character?
Yes.
That is news to me. Yeah, no, I've never heard of that.
Okay, that's like an old head term, but a pixie character is basically it's a character that they get the life lead and they run away, and that's what they're really good at doing is they have all these alternate mobility options or things that get them away from the person if they catch up to them.
I think these days it's called keep away. Like there's a general difference between keep away and zoning, and
right.
and I think Pixie, by the way, is a way cooler name than Keep Away. Keep Away just sounds lame,
Yeah.
you know? Like, which I get it. A lot
Yeah.
of people think is lame, but I mean, think about how hard that actually is for a traditionally Pixie character. Like, do you got any examples
Yeah.
for something like that? Because I'm picturing a character with really low health, not the greatest offense, but the most annoying tools to just stay out of your reach.
Yeah, that's Chip from Guilty Gear. Chip is a pixie character. He has low health. He has very oppressive like mix-ups and pressure, but he can't initiate that stuff. He has to get hit first because you overextended against him.
Right.
And that's kind of the way Smoke works. Smoke does not get situations that are beneficial to him by being the one to initiate anything. He has to bait some stupid decision out of you, and then he gets to fuck you up.
Yeah, which is cool because that is from what I have seen, that is very heavily inspired by actual karambit knife fighting, because all it takes is that one mistake and then boom, you're dead, right? So that's a beautiful blend of lore gameplay and just being good, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's like the thing I say about Smoke all the time too is that his play style is given away by his dialogue. What I mean about that is that he is always talking about every voice line the character has. It's almost a meme about like how he's this like hunter slash predator type of entity, right? Well, what do animals that are predators in the wild typically do? Well, they typically don't actually initiate offense on whatever they're preying on, right?
Well, if they initiate offense, it's on as much of their terms as possible. Like, they're as close as possible. They've got as much backup as possible. They've targeted the weakest target as possible. Like, they try to stack the deck, which Smoke kind of does.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's the reason why, for example, and I will say this, like, there are people who are not going to believe me. So there are too many people that they get upset about the invisibility unless needed. I get it that for some people, the invisibility is maybe just a barrier they can't get past. But when Foxy says that the overhead is reactable, even when invisible, he's 100% telling the truth. The only reason that overhead exists is you kind of use it like an MK11 with sub, where if they're going to throw you overhead, because it crushes throats. It's throw me.
Right, because he's technically airborne from back two, right?
yeah. So that's what that's for. It's not to mix people up. It's to bait throws.
Right.
Um, and then you can. The other thing he can do that other characters besides maybe Ashra can't do is he has a whip punish tool for things like Reiko's down 4 from like maximum range.
Yeah, that's not. I think that club is like Ashra and maybe Takeda.
And Quan Chi.
Oh yeah,
But yeah,
Oh yeah, Quan Chi.
yeah, it's like 4 or 5 characters in the whole cast can do stuff like that.
And even then, that's not enough to make Quan Chi top tier.
And then even then, like, so yeah, I think that it's crazy that there are people who. So this is my first time being in a community of players for a character where I am considered to be an up player of that character. Because most people who play Smoke, even the good ones like Just Nasty and Big Daddy G, they're always saying he sucks. And if you're being outplayed by Smoke, you're just losing on an intense fundamental level, which I will say is somewhat true because that character is like
He punishes
puts
bad
these knowledge the
fundamentals.
character, huh?
He's literally he's a barrier of entry type of character where it's like you need to know your footsies, otherwise this guy's gonna fuck you up.
Yeah, because like the thing about Smoke, where he does best, right, is um, everyone. The reason that people will say, well, Astra is the top 1 footsies in the game is because she is 4-2, because it's an advancing button that they get to, they get to like initiate with, right? They get to go and get something going. So Smoke doesn't work like that, so they think his footsies are bad, but what Smoke has is he is the best defensive footsies in the game.
Right.
Because all his hurt boxes on his good normals are all retracted, which means if a character like that, what that means is that means you want the other person to swing first. There are footsie characters that like they're good for initiating that with for whatever reason, and then you have footsie characters where they want you to swing first, and that's where a lot of people I think they get like hung up with on Smoke is that's where he does best is when he's the one that reacts to you.
Right. And that's part of that's part of that Mortal Kombat is offense, the fighting game, because people still think of that from MKX when Smoke is not supposed to be this crazy offensive guy. Like his intros imply, he's an ambush predator. Think of how something like a jaguar or a house cat fights. They don't tend to go immediately all in. It's all about speed and waiting for that opening.
Yeah.
So like and once Smoke gets that, which is easy to do because which I think is pretty easy to do because he's got fast buttons, good mix in terms of punishes. Like as you said, his overhead crushes throws. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Like you might think, oh, it's overhead, it's up block punishable. Lol. What happens if I throw with a character with a cameo like I don't know, Jax?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and the other thing that people don't take into consideration is like, so I believe like okay, so I want to be competitive again, like. I tried with MK11, but it was a combination of I both didn't like the game, and I had things going on in my personal life that were really distracting me from being able to be competitive. That is one thing with like people who want to get good at fighting games. I would advise you to do is if you don't have a life that is stable and comfortable, you cannot afford to take it seriously. It has to be just like a fun thing. You can grind and be dead serious about it when the rest of your life is sorted out, but it is not possible to be a winner of these games if it's not the only thing you can concentrate on serious. It's not.
Yeah.
And that was like what hampered me during MK11, and there were a lot of people that like, I incurred a lot of bitterness from different people in the NRS scene when I came in with Injustice 2. Because granted, I was like a little bit arrogant when I came in, just like Tweety. There are some people that think I still am arrogant, and then there was the fact that I immediately, like, my in with the community was I pal around with Tweety. We met through arguing on Test Your Might. And he was like my main training partner for Injustice 2. And I could tell you, there were people that thought it was unfair that I got access to games with him like every day when they were people that were like fans of his that he just wouldn't play.
Well, okay.
Um,
Well, okay. There is training with the top players. That is a fantastic edge to have. But at the same time, you know, those guys got good without that kind of help. You can too.
yeah, exactly. You just have to know what to prioritize, and that's been the biggest weakness from my personal experience of people in the NRS community is they just don't lap. Like, um, what's an example where I exposed something like that I could think of on? Okay.
Wait. Hold
Like,
on. Let's take a quick pause here. I have to head upstairs to grab some dins. I'll be back down in probably about. Do you have time for me to be back in about half hour or so?
oh yeah, I'm not doing anything.
Okay, cool. Then I'll be back shortly then. And we're back. Sorry for the intermission there. I had to go take a break to go munch, but now that we're back, you may have noticed that the GIF has changed because we kind of got our impressions of MK1 overall out of the way. I'm glad it's come pretty far in terms of gameplay and experiences, but it's honestly still got a long ways to go. And in terms of competitive, well, Cherny likes it, so that kind of goes without saying. But we need to look into the future next. And the future is quite imminent because half of the characters in the GIF that the audience will be able to see, and this is the Khaos Reigns DLC roster GIF, kind of hovering up in front there. Yeah, let's talk about, like, in the imminent future, what we think about Cyrax, Sector, Noob Saibot, and what we're hoping for from the guest characters, since they'll be out at a later date.
Okay. Man, I had to think about that last one. Like, what do I expect from the guest characters? So, my problem is I'm a guest character hater. I'm just gonna say it. I am.
We are unfortunately on opposing ends there, but that's just because, hey, I got into I got into Mortal Kombat because of a guest character, but, like, I have my limits too.
Yeah, I never liked them or thought any of them were even cool gameplay wise. Like, the one time I was excited for a guest character, and we know where this is gonna go, is when they did Rambo and MK11. We know how that turned out.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate because in terms of an actual guest character, Rambo got a lot of undeserved heat. Honestly, he fits in, like, the whole Mortal Kombat vibe way more than some of the guest characters they've done before. I mean, for God's sakes, he practically is a Special Forces character. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
no,
that would.
I was. I was kind of depressed that, like, Rambo was the only way I could put it. I'm sorry, he was just kind of lame in general.
Well, he was funky to play.
Yeah, like, that was a character that had a kit that literally made no sense in my opinion. Nothing synergized on that character at all, and he felt very. I think the word is clunky. He was a very clunky feeling character to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could say that about the quote Combat Pack 2 characters in Mortal Kombat 11 in general, because, I mean, obviously they were kind of rushed last minute, and you can feel it in how they play. But
yeah,
what always killed me was that Rambo and Melina got nerfed. I don't know how many people know this, but Melina and Rambo actually got nerfed in the very last balance patch for Mortal Kombat 11, where a bunch of their moves would make them considered airborne, thus resetting their throw crushing blow cooldowns. Because, you know,
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
which, like, I'm sorry, what possessed you to nerf two of the worst characters that have ever been DLC in a Mortal Kombat game from a competitive standpoint? Like, huh?
Yes, that was like, I still don't even know what that was about to this day, to be honest with you. It's definitely a thing I will never understand
Yeah,
why they did that.
that is a I don't know I don't know how normal it is to say this, but that is a balancing decision that continues to haunt me to this day.
Yeah, it was a, oh man.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I
only,
don't even know.
this is only going to make sense for those who have played competitive Pokemon at all, but the only more egregious buff I have ever seen is when they gave Incineroar Parting Shot.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not big on Pokemon, so I'm not going to be helpful for that comparison.
But for those who know, they know. Suffice it to say, it's one of those balance changes that you just look at and go, what were they smoking and how can I avoid that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, oh man, yeah. I don't know. Fuck MK11. Okay, like we've already been over this. I think it's terrible. I can't stand it.
I tried so fucking hard with Kotal and Scarlet, man, but nope. Not even those two characters could fucking save MK1 for me. Not even Spawn could save it. Ay.
Wait, you think you had a bad try being a what's the try being a Nightwolf player? That character was so dry. It's so boring.
Oh, Nightwolf had so much potential to be fun with his like custom moveset, but he wasn't allowed it for half of the shit. And then by the time the custom variations were released, half of the crap was nerfed before it was released anyways. Which, you know, killed killed the appeal of custom variations in the first place. To this day, I personally believe Injustice 2 should have allowed custom variations, but that would be something for another time.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely rubs me the wrong way.
I love Nightwolf. I love Nightwolf as a character, but like, when it came to playing him, it's like I only played him because he was Nightwolf, and it was hard sometimes. I liked it well enough, but that was because it was, you know, Mortal Kombat 11. It was really my only option at the time, in terms of playing online. But, you know, again, that's Mortal Kombat 11. We're feeling more optimistic about Mortal Kombat 1's DLC, I believe, especially, again, the Mortal Kombat characters that are coming.
Yeah, I am personally, like, well, I don't know. I'll say that I'm excited for other people to get some of those characters, because, I mean, I know, like, I think Tom's excited for every single one of those characters. I think M2 Davis, too.
Yeah.
And I don't want to shun anybody's parade, you know? So, like, I'm just going to keep my opinions mostly to myself. But, like, I do like... I'll say it. The only characters I personally like are what are shaping up to be the original editions, like Cyrax, Sector, and Noob. That's all I'm really hyped up for.
Which is fine. There's like I know there's a Ghostface fan on Twitter that is a mutual of mine who is super diehard about Ghostface, but it's like, me personally, I'm like, I am skeptical.
Yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, no, I'll just say I don't understand how that character is going to work.
The gimmick, I mean, the gimmick is past themes, and the thing about the Scream universe is that in that universe, traditional scary movies like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th exist in that universe. So the only thing I can think of is that, like, Scream is gonna be literally the horror reference gimmick character, which kind of sells Ghostface short, ironically, because one thing they could do is that they could have him summon multiple Ghostfaces. because there's multiple people behind the mask of Ghostface. But I'm personally
Yeah,
I'm personally nervous that he's just gonna be stealing a bunch of horror movie character moves.
yeah. I kind of think that is how it will end up going. Um, Could be wrong, of course, but like,
I'd be happy to be proven wrong. If Ghostface turns out to be really fun. I mean, I laughed off Leatherface. Now the Leatherface is one of my favorite characters in MKX.
yeah. I mean, oh, let me think. Like, how I want to put this. Give me a second.
um,
Um,
well, I will say personally, one thing that I don't know how many people. Did you catch that Noob has a super sweep?
no, I didn't see that.
In his reveal trailer, he goes for a sweep, and then the Shadow Clone punches the opponent in the head. Now, Omni-Man, as far as I'm aware, is the only character that has a super sweep like that. Like, Natara's is a two-hitting sweep, but it's just a normal sweep otherwise. But Omni-Man's,
Right.
almost does as much damage as an uppercut. But as a consequence, doesn't have the greatest range. But Noob
Yeah.
Saibot seems to kind of be borrowing that, so that makes me excited because I wonder if they're going to make anything interesting about that. Like, is it going to build Shadow Clone charges? Like, how that would be a thing you could build in MK11. One of the few times that crushing blows actually felt fun. Because,
Yeah,
you could
that'd be fun,
build them
I
up
guess.
consistently,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That'd be fun. I don't know. I am kind of like, part of me is thinking to myself, though, I am kind of like, so what in the world are they actually going to do when it comes to, how do I want to put this, like, how are they really going to pursue it as far as how some of these characters are going to work within the system? Because, like, Sector, I'm wondering what they're going to do, for example, to, like, differentiate it from the cameo, but also I'm wondering, and I think it would be kind of cool if they did this, by the way. I'm not saying it like it's a bad thing potentially, but I kind of would like it if they ended up designing Cyrax and Sector in such a way it's optimal to use Cyrax and Sector cameos. And you just,
I
you
mean,
know,
I
cyborgs.
mean, that's gotta be at the back of their minds. That has to be, right? And from what we've seen of Cyrax's gameplay, personally, I've always kind of leaned towards Sector. I just can never get my head around the bomb setups. Which is unfortunate because, bomb setups are Cyrax's whole shebang, right? For some reason,
Yeah.
I do better with Sector style of set play. I do not know why. But Cyrax in Mortal Kombat 1 was cool because of the net and how the net interacted with some characters. And this Cyrax seems to be... This Cyrax just seems to be, let me be all over the place, the character. Like, there's movement options. I'm pretty sure I saw MK9 style back one in her trailer as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm very curious to see, like, how much Cyrax across the board we get, but I'm more optimistic for Sector because I've always preferred Sector's kit. And in this case, we've already seen her back throw, which uses the claw thing, which we haven't seen since MK3, which I thought was cute. But I don't know, like, hopefully, like, I really hope that I can enjoy Sector and Cyrax equally. But past experience tells me I'm going to be sticking with ketchup as usual.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, for a little bit on the trailer we got, definitely looks like to me, as far as how the characters were made, that Cyrax certainly looks to be deviating more from tradition than Sector. I think Sector is going to end up coming out pretty bog standard for Sector.
Which is fine, because there's nothing wrong with familiarity in a timeline as wild as MK1.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
No.
But
I get the feeling did she have teleport punch?
yes, I believe so.
Okay. I was gonna say, like if she lost teleport punch, that would be fine, because, like, sometimes when they bring back classic Mortal Kombat characters, there's, like, one move that they don't have. Like, Johnny Cage doesn't have force balls anymore, for instance. So I'm almost wondering
but,
what Sector can't do.
That's a good thing. I don't think Johnny Cage should ever have a projectile, frankly. I think it's weird that they even allowed that to happen.
Well, I mean, I don't know why they went with the whole force ball route, but I don't know what they were on making them plus on block most of the time.
Yeah. Now you're giving me PTSD from MK11 fighting Johnny's and just did string into EX force ball over and over.
MK9 Johnny was worse to my knowledge, but I'm not surprised. Johnny was always a nightmare for me as well. Whenever I saw Johnny Cage, I was just like, you know what, screw you, I'm gonna zone you out.
Yeah, I just how do I put this? Like, I don't know. That's a character, I guess, legacy-wise, I have never liked the way he's been made. I think Johnny is always terribly made as a character, if I'm being honest.
Terribly made how? Like, overly kitted out, or...?
I do not like the way that he tends to play out, where he's just this very repetitive, I'm going to stagger over and over again, and it's like all based on deriving what the habits of the Johnny player are. I think that's very uninteresting, personally.
I get it. There's mind games are one thing, but having to basically do a personality check on the opponent every time you fight a new Johnny Cage player, that can get frustrating.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. Now, I know there are going to be people who are going to say that, oh, well, that's what makes Johnny Johnny, and my response to those people is, yeah, that's the problem.
I will say, I kind of like the taunt mechanic that they gave him in MK1. That at least is fun.
No, I do like that. I think that the height mechanic in general was a really good idea for his character, but you're just never gonna find me saying like that. Oh yeah, it's like really amazing. I'm never gonna say that. I think that his character design's always just in general. It's very boring to me. It's always been boring. I don't understand people. Like, I want to know what is the personality that makes you want to play Johnny Cage in an NRS game? Because I do not get it.
Well, 95% of the time, it's for the memes. 3% of the time, it's because they're diehard Johnny Cage fans. And the other 2% of the time, Johnny Cage is just busted.
See, I have a little bit of a different philosophy than you do on this. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people who pick Johnny, they see themselves that way in an unironic manner. Like, these are people who they think, first of all, they think Johnny's a cool, badass character, and they don't see the satire, and then they also think that they're just like Johnny, so they're also cool.
Oh, so you're likening him to those Fight Club fans?
Yes, exactly. He's the character for those people. I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, that is a hot take. I will respect it as a very hot take. I don't know if I agree with it, but hot take be damned. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, Johnny is he's a Freudian penis-sized compensation character for sure. I know it in my heart of hearts. This is the truth of what the deal with Johnny players is.
Oh, I feel bad. I feel bad for people who are just fans of Johnny Cage and who are not competitive Johnny players. They're like, but I like Johnny Cage for the personality and how he was in the movies. And like, I get that, but like, when you have to fight them at a competitive level, they're annoying.
Yeah, but like, come on, bro. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. People see themselves in that character, and that makes it very hard for me to empathize with Johnny Mays when they complain about Nurse or something.
There is a disconcerting amount of that going on, I will say, where they really enjoy like they almost want to emulate Johnny Cage, which is a little disconcerting. Obviously, I have to put in, not every Johnny Cage fan, because, it's not every Johnny Cage fan. There's obviously good Johnny Cage fans out there that are not dickheads. But at the same time, there are stereotypes for a reason, and it's just especially prevalent in Johnny Cage, unfortunately, where it just feels that Johnny Cage players just feel like they have to be the best just because they play Johnny Cage. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's another thing. That's one of those character communities that you notice that if he ever gets touched for any reason, it can be the biggest slap on the wrist, they cry. Like, and they act like their character just got gutted or something.
I remember like the only other time I've seen similar reactions was I remember when Raiden and MK1 got nerfed because of, I think the Storm Cell got nerfed, right?
Yeah, it was when they made the Storm Cell unsafe if you didn't cover over the cameo.
Yeah, so everybody got mad at that because they're like, oh, you made Raiden suck. It's like, no! Storm Cell was the last thing on my mind whenever I would play Raiden. Like, literally. Honestly, besides it being busted, I don't like Storm Cell as a move. It feels very underwhelming in terms of, like, what it is. Like, it's a big electric aura. I feel like there should be more oomph to that than what it is. I mean, the meter burn version summons an electric tornado. That's cute. But from a thematic perspective, I don't like it, so I literally never use it. I use down back 2 meter burn more often than I use, Shocker.
No, I get that because I think that was one of the things that for me, like, that was one of the metas that the only metas of very few in the game's lifespan I hated was Storm Cell. Because not only was it the best move in the game, it locked you down, you didn't get to even have a turn, right? Like, launch day Raiden was literally, you just didn't get to play the game if you blocked him one time.
Yeah.
And the move looks like really piddly and stupid at the same time. You're being locked down by this, like, I don't know, we have static shock at home move.
Which is sad because Static Shock missed out on Injustice twice.
Yep.
I would have taken Static Shock over Babs Girl in Injustice 1 for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like, oh man, it sucks so bad, dude. I fucking, no. I just can't deal with it.
It reminds me of MK11 Shiva, where everybody was complaining about the stomps. So when I picked up Shiva because I loved her combos, I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna stomp. You know what I mean? I did whole videos where I would just do my 5 Combat League challenges for the day, but I would not use stomp once because it's like, Shiva's good without the stomp, guys. There's more to her than, her being the forearm dominatrix you people are terrified of her being.
Yeah, but the other problem with like, the Reigns situation, though, is he's kind of emblematic of a reoccurring issue coming from other fighting games. I've noticed NRS really seems to have a hard time not reproducing, and that is the character that does one string and one special move. And that's all I have to do, like Tanya is an example of that. It doesn't even matter to me that character is like bottom 1. I just don't think fighting games should have characters that are like that, where it's just, I'm just going to do this one thing, and you have to figure out when I'm going to do the one thing.
Yeah. And, like, the thing is that Tanya's just fun as a combo character in general when, I'm pretty sure you're talking about 4-2-1-1, right?
Yeah.
And, I mean, that string is fantastic and all, but, little tip, Tanya Sonya mains, there's a 50-50 mix-up off of back 3.
Yeah. But it's also that, and this is coming from a competitive perspective, okay? But, like Tweety said in a video of his recently where he was saying that part of the reason our game isn't getting, like, the viewer numbers and stuff that it should is because the metas we've had with the game so far, the game looks like shit when it's in action, and I agree with that. Nobody wants to watch Raiden do string Storm Cell into Cyrax over and over. There's
Yeah,
nothing
no.
interesting about watching that. A casual viewer can't take anything from that. Like a casual viewer can perfectly understand looking at Street Fighter, and they can comprehend, oh, this character has is big on a fireball game, but they have to risk themselves being jumped in on. Like those are things that an average person can look at, but no one can look at the old rated meta and say, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, no.
That they just lost.
Which pissed me off, especially because again, as a thematic move, Storm Cell, like in terms of look and visual impact, was underwhelming. Like I would make that move -20 on block if it was if it had the initial hits, but the last hit would cause a knockdown and do way more damage. Like at the very least have some oomph behind it, because then I might actually use it. But no, it's also, but ironically, it's also the best move in the game because it was like, you don't get to play anymore because I get to eat your health like a rat with cheese.
Yeah, hold on one second, I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry about the continuous tangents. It's always good to bounce meta stuff off of competitive players like Cherny, but moving on to some of my personal expectations, knowing now that Sector has a teleport uppercut, I think we did see missiles and flamethrower as well, so I almost wonder if Sector is actually going to be one of those characters where they just add a bunch of stuff, because one thing Sector has always been kind of implied to be able to do is turn invisible. So I wonder if they'll make Sector turn invisible or allow her to fly, like freeform fly, or have a hover or something like that. But then it makes you think, well, okay, this is basically souped up Sector. Why is that? My personal thinking is, well, there's power creep, and then there's feature creep. Characters are able to do different things, are able to do more things in a game. And I think Mortal Kombat suffers from feature creep a lot, especially when you see some of the later DLC characters compared to the past DLC characters, for things like Mortal Kombat 11. And think about all of the utility that Peacemaker has. That is feature creep to a T. That Peacemaker could do it all, and that was part of what made him fun. And even though I think the torpedo nerfs are honestly justified, just because I'm glad there's a move that just weeds out the torpedo spammers, so that people can actually play good with Peacemaker and not just play the human bullet game. Woo! But as for Cyrax, we've already seen. I'm personally more happy for the Cyrax fans, and Noob Saibot. That is going to be the one I'm looking to talk to Cherny about the most, because Noob Saibot has always been an interesting character for me, and it looks like they're taking a lot from UMK3, so I wonder what the implications of that would be, competitively speaking. Especially
I'm back.
And speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Welcome back.
By the way, do you stream yourself recording these like Tom and Dave do, or do you just do an OBS recording?
I just do a raw OBS recording, and then in this case, I'm going to kind of spruce things up with a little bit with like text and footnotes and whatnot to kind of make things a little bit interesting for those who are watching, less listening.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
Anyway.
Alright, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying while you were away, I was just giving my thoughts on Sector, and what I'm wondering about, and I mentioned a little bit about feature creep, which is what I call it when it's not necessarily power creep, but it's just that DLC characters tend to do more shit than launch characters do. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sector had missiles, flamethrower, teleport uppercut, plus new shit, to kind of add on to that.
Yeah, I would say probably like other fighting games I've noticed, NRS is really bad for that, for having feature creep in their rosters with DLC characters. Because you don't so much see that with like other kinds of characters. Like if you look at Street Fighter 6, for example, there's nothing about Akuma that's like no other character has this.
Well, Well, asterisk, there's nothing broken that's unique to him. Obviously, he is Akuma, but, like, he isn't getting TODs off of his fireballs.
Yeah, things like that. So that is one thing that is, I suppose it's both one of the good and bad things about NRS is that they like to do that with DLC characters. They like to have introduced characters that they just completely introduce foreign elements into the game.
It's a good way. It's a good way to keep things interesting when the meta is constantly evolving and the standards are continuously being shifted. You know.
Yeah. But that is one thing that I hope they do, and I'm kind of hopeful they will do it. That they will make sure to keep up the rest of the cast with that.
They've been doing a remarkably good job of keeping everybody up to date, considering previous balance patches.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's why, like, so, I think it's funny that there are people now who say, I am a shill for NRS because I actually like MK1. And I'm realizing these were a lot of the people who are around for MK11 where I did nothing but make negative content about that game. And unfortunately, I think some of these people have, like, mistaken me as being one of them. Like, they thought that I would just always hate anything that was, like, not
that you would just be a professional NRS hater instead of just being like, I like what I like, bro.
Yeah, and I like the game. It's like, so, like, and, we'll see how it goes when I do the podcast with Tom and Dave, but, Dave wants to tell me, and also Tom, that archetypes do not exist in MK1. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Archetypes totally do exist. It's just MK1 has this weird tendency of, partially because it's an assist game, of allowing a lot of characters to kind of blend the two. Like Reiko, we talked about earlier, was a great example because he's a zoner with a command grab.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like where they're coming from, where it's like there's no characters that are just one archetype that I can see. But it's like they're definitely taking bits from archetypes. They're just throwing them all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, there are people who will say that they want a strict, like, like a holy trinity of grappler, zoner, and rushdown character. And, like, that's just not, like, how modern fighting games in general seem to work anymore. Like,
there's just too much things that characters do now. Like, the technology and the standards are too high to let single archetype characters exist anymore.
Remember last year, leading up to MK1 coming out, I think it was in May or April, Sikander and I just, like, bullshitted in a Discord call. And Kim and I were talking about that. And, I know there are some people that like Sikander. I think Sikander is a pretty cool guy, honestly. He just, like, plays his shit up from the memes mostly.
I see. Sikander, from your perspective anyways, is more of a troublemaker than an actually malicious individual.
Yeah, I don't think he's malicious at all. But him and I talked about this, and I mean, he's kind of said the same thing, that, like, I think it was the conversation I had with him talking about this where we came to the conclusion that the thing about modern fighting game character design is that, well, archetypes, obviously, I think that in hindsight we can say they're obviously too limiting, because that's what creates polarizing matchups in general.
Right.
And for some reason, people are kind of obsessed with this, like, weird fighting game design orthodoxy, but the problem with that orthodoxy is that it creates more counterpicking, right?
It almost becomes rock paper scissors, right?
Yeah, and you don't want rock, paper, scissors. You want to have chess, right?
Chess at least.
Uh, so, like, so this is the thing I said to Sikander, and I think you agree with me on this, is that when it comes to designing fighting game characters now, you want to more look at like the modern standard of like hardcore RPGs that focus on like character building, like in Baldur's Gate 3, for instance, where it's all about like creative use of hybridizing things. So
Yeah. Which,
it's
I mean,
almost like
it is a very Dungeons and Dragons approach. That is an interesting thing to note because, I mean, Baldur's Gate uses Dungeons and Dragons rulings, and
so the way I look at it is that fighting game characters now, they're just CRPG characters, and they have certain generic premises off of which they're based on, but their stat sheets are different. That's all.
I've kind of noticed this, especially with Mortal Kombat, where it's like you see these characters, and I mean, it makes sense because each of these characters is legendary and has 30 plus years of history. But it's like in the design, especially in modern day, it's like it strikes me very much as, huh, you really wanted to make these characters protagonists, didn't you? You know what I mean? Like, look at Mortal Kombat 11 Scorpion's just general vibe, and tell me that that guy was not designed to be a protagonist.
Right.
You know what I mean? Same sort of thing with MK1. Like, I joked about it before, but Rain and Tanya got D&D'd the hell out of.
Yeah. Well, like, what I'm talking about, though, for an example, is like, so we'll go back to the Reiko example, right? Zoner has command grab. That is literally just making, you know, like a Zoner type character, but you're beefing up their up close defensive capability more than the average, right? And then that allows you to make a character with better projectiles but worse defense than he has. And that's the kind of places where the variety comes from. It's in those more like subtle, granular, I think.
Right.
And like that's one thing, for example, that they did a good job of fixing. For example, was pre the current version of the game, I would have told you there is no reason to play Scorpion because Smoke is just a better Scorpion. Just period.
Which is kind of hilarious because that was apparently, I mean, I never played back then because, you know, I didn't exist back then, but apparently back in the days of UMK3, that was exactly the same thing they said about Scorpion and Smoke back in UMK3, was that Smoke was just a better Scorpion.
Yeah, because well, at the time they had the same moveset, except I think Smoke had like one special move that was unique to him or something. I don't exactly remember. But like in this game, right, he had teleport, he had a free teleport cancel so he could run away easier than Scorpion could, blah, blah, blah. But now, with the changes they made to both cameos and Scorpion himself, he is much better and more of this like slow play footsie's character that puts you in a vortex when you screw up, right? He's not playing what he was doing before, which was he had to play runaway just like Smoke did. That was the only thing he could do. I do consider that like people were saying he was one of the worst characters, but I do think if you're a redundant character, meaning someone does your function better, you are basically a useless character. You're a dead slot. And I would have said before that he was a dead slot. I even did a video talking about that. But now I think there is reason to play him over Smoke or like other characters in general by far.
Yeah, because that was the thing. That was an example of the of Mortal Kombat 1's beta-ness. In terms of development. Like, some characters just did not feel complete, and certain patches completed characters. Like, the Scorpion buffs completed Scorpion as a character, you know? Back 3 being
Yeah.
special cancelable will always be a little bit weird to me, just animation-wise, but it's great. I mean, Back 3's range plus into teleport into shenanigans is never going to be a bad time for Scorpion fans, so...
Yeah, and I mean, I also don't agree with the criticism of the game. You see a lot that the characters don't have their original personalities, gameplay, or anything. Because whenever I play against Scorpion players in this game, even prior to those changes to the game, I'm literally seeing Scorpion players do the same shit they've always done. Like, every time you're slightly negative, they like to try and fish for, like, neutral jump kick, OS, and the spear, for example. That's the thing they've been doing since, like, MK9.
Yeah.
So, like...
Which is it's like okay, if you're coming at this from a lore perspective, yeah, but if you're coming at this from a competitive perspective where they don't feel the same, no.
Yeah, like Scorpion is obviously, and like all Farrah did, to be honest, all Farrah did for that character is he's now back to being able to do the one thing that he was known for, which was that he could put you in a vortex when you overextended yourself. That was
Right.
the one trademark was missing. And that was also, obviously, that was the thing that made him so underwhelming in MK11 too, was that they tried to make him this, like, very honest footsies man character with this, like, weird single hit confirming with the teleport cancel meta that was, like, the skill cap of that character. And it did not feel like true to his character, and it was so boring to play. Like, yeah. But, like, he's more now himself than he has been since all of MK11. So I think it's kind of weird that people are complaining about Scorpion Farrah so much, because he's just like old school Scorpion now from a gameplay standpoint.
Yes, again, Farrah helped uncork Scorpion. So I guess you could say Farrah was really the launch date for MK1, but that's neither here nor there. One thing I was particularly curious about, though, in terms of your thoughts, was the shadow in the room, Noob Saibot. Considering what we've seen of his gameplay, which features a lot of old school stuff, like the clone launching projectile, for instance,
Yeah.
and portals and the teleport slam. Are you excited for Noob? Are you nervous about Noob? What do you hope Noob has?
No, I'm very excited for Noob. So the thing about MK1 in general is it has, for me, it has my dream roster. It's about to have my top 3 ninjas in the game, Smoke, Ermac, and Noob. And I've always played Smoke, Ermac, and Noob in every MK game they were in, whether it was together or not. I kind of wish I will be that guy. I kind of wish that we were still getting a Noob cameo, so I could do Noob Smoke from Deadly Alliance, you know?
From Deception, rather? Yeah.
Deception, yeah, I had the wrong game, yeah.
That's all good. Yeah, I mean, fuck, Noob Smoke would be fucking excellent. And while we have not heard anything about cameos for Khaos Reigns, I can't imagine that they're going to be stopping making new cameos anytime soon. So, never say never.
Well, we know there's going to be new cameos for Khaos Reigns because Ed Boon practically confirmed it on Twitter like a couple days ago.
Ah, well, there you go. Who knows? Maybe Smoke becomes a cameo and you can do Noob Smoke.
So wait, did you not see the poll that he posted on Twitter a few days ago?
I don't think I did.
So he posted a poll of 4 kind of like out of left field potential cameo choices. And I mean, he explicitly said in this poll he was taking it because he said him and the guys were throwing around ideas for season 2 cameos. So clearly they're working on something.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh wait, no, I know the poll that you're talking about, the one that had Blanche and Chucky.
Yeah.
I voted Blanche.
Yeah, that's what Paul talking about. Yeah, I mean, he straight up says that they're the drawing room right now as far as coming up with cameos. So obviously,
well, yeah. So I cannot wait for them to do Smoke cameo then.
My guess is, here's my guess. I could be wrong. I think what they're going to do is we're just going to get Khaos Reigns with only the roster additions. I think we're gonna get as many cameos as we got this last season, but I think what they're gonna do is they're just gonna come with the guest characters two at a time. I think that's what will happen.
Oh, that would explain why we haven't seen any word on them yet, and why the guest characters would be delayed.
Yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do. That's my feeling about it.
You know
They
what?
might add some cameos. They might add one or two cameos with Khaos Reigns that they haven't revealed yet, because people are kind of like doing on that front right now. But keep in mind that when they did the Kombat cast about all the things coming with Aftermath and all that, there was a lot of stuff that ended up being revealed that we didn't know was going to happen, like new stages, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's a good chance that that's when we find out about additional cameos.
I hear you.
And I think they're going to go that way because, like, whether you want to see it as a criticism or not, NRS does not like to do, like, revision work on their games. And so I think they will prefer to make new cameos that are more focused instead of fixing up cameos that they just can't seem to get to work in a way that works like Darius.
Yeah, Darius is really... I think Darius is really bizarre, in terms of, as far as the character goes. I only use him because of his new move where he trips the opponent in both, and you kind of make a meat sandwich with your player Darius and the opponent, but
yeah,
it's just goofy fun. Noob, on the other hand, I'm a little bit nervous about, because we saw 3 moves off rip: the clone toss, the portals, and the teleport slam. And you said you're a big fan of Noob. Is there anything that you hope makes it into his kit?
Okay. So, first of all, I want Ghost Ball in the game, and I want it to be usable.
At like unblockable, stops your blocking. How usable are we talking here?
I'm talking like I want to do a block string to Cyrax and Ghost Ball someone during horizontal copter.
Oh, I get a
Just
feel.
let me do it.
I hope that's allowed, and I hope it is an unblockable move that prevents blocking, because I love it when characters get crazy buffs. I'm still waiting for the day that we get a character that literally buffs himself or herself to being too strong, or stalls the opponent out in terms of like just not taking damage and healing off the damage and such.
Here's the thing. They were close to having that character, and it was MK11 Nightwolf, and all they had to do was put all the buffs on one move, and you just get level 1, 2, and 3 of all 3 of those buffs.
Yeah, especially if it cost bar to do all 3 even, I would be fine with that, because, and then if you do it again to get all 3 all at level 2, then fuck yeah, I would take that, because level 2 Como, level 2 Kiva, and then level 2 fucking Eagle for full screen shoulder tackles? Yes, please.
Yeah, I will say I am sad, because I was kind of hoping that there would be some different roster additions, but I know that people are dooming about the game because of how MK11's life was cut short, but
right.
Now, I don't think it was due to COVID, by the way. I do think it was that MK11 was a flop with a hardcore fan base, and they knew it, and they just decided the best thing was just to cut the cord on it.
Yeah,
and just let it go.
Cut the cord on it. Cut the cord on it. Try again with MK1.
Yeah, because listen, people can talk about how they felt ripped off for years of support, but I honestly believe, and I think Tom agrees with me on this, by the way, that game was fun salvageable. It would have taken too much money, and it would have taken too long to get it into a place where it actually worked.
Well, it would have. Well, honestly, a big part of that would have required a massive overhaul of how the game actually works. And at that point, you might as well just make a new game. which they did.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that, right? The movement's very similar. A lot of the combo structuring is very similar. The emphasis on using crouch pokes and neutral to get your advantage and get your turn is like
They fucking
just as
kept.
emphasized
They fucking
as it was
kept.
in
They kept down 2 combo punishes. If you punish a high with it, like they fucking kept
Yeah.
down 2 crushing blow for 2 bars, and. I
Yeah.
mean, speaking of a thing that took basically an entire year to actually be made good.
But that's also why, like, I will be honest, there's an obsession with the people who are critical of this game that they want to paint it as it's a tag game. And I know that's what Ed Boon said, but this is not a tag game. Like, cameos are just universally equipable variations.
Yeah.
And I think it's the best version of that system, by the way. There are people I know who don't like it, but if cameos were to become like an actual legacy element in future games, I think that would be a good thing. I think it's the best version of the system.
Yeah. I partially agree. The only condition I would make is that they can't do it for MK1 right now. But I think if they do carry cameos over into the next Mortal Kombat, or hell, use it as a sidekick feature in Injustice, which I could see them doing, that would be excellent. And maybe that'll be a way to get Oracle actually playable in a way that I can actually, do without making me feel sick.
Yeah.
Rants about Babs aside, that's one of the main reasons why I like the MK1 cameo so much, is because they made Centaur Motaro. That would not have happened without cameos. And it really does suck that some of the characters are cameo exclusive. Like, I really wanted Frost to be playable for sure. In my mind, what they should do next time is they should make it so that, except for a handful, and I'm talking like characters that would not fit a traditional rig, like a centaur, or somebody in a wheelchair, or an octopus, or or a starfish, or what have you. You know what I mean? As a sidekick / cameo exclusive. But the ones that can be on the same humanoid rig, you should be able to switch back and forth.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I think. Would make cameos perfect, in my opinion. It just for me, it just really bites that Serena and Frost are probably not gonna actually make main roster.
Yeah. That sucks too, because honestly, if they wanted to do Frost, I know some people weren't fans of it. And they were mid-tired, man. If they wanted to do, I really would want them to do Cyborg Frost again. I thought Cyber Frost in 11 was so sick.
Honestly, I also really like Cyborg Frost. I get why some people were upset with it, but at the very least, Cyborg Frost was something more interesting than, I'm mad at Sub-Zero, which, this is NetherRealm's fault, because they basically typecast her into that, or I guess Midway's back in the day, but they just typecast her as, the angry Frosty bitch, and then, they made her a cyborg. Okay, that's at least something interesting, which is weird because a friend of mine who loves Frost basically did a character overhaul of her, and I'm like, make this canon Frost. But that's again requiring them to actually give a damn about Frost and Serena, which I really don't think they do. But I just realized we didn't really answer the question on Noob. Oh yeah, you did answer the question on Noob. It was Ghost Ball. Is that it? You just went Ghost Ball?
No, let me think. I mean, the problem is we don't know what he has altogether, so it's hard for me to make definitive statements about that. I will say, the one thing I really liked about Noob in MK11 was I kind of liked it that with low slide and spirit ball, you could kind of make him play like Sagat from Street Fighter. He had a high fast fireball and a slower low fireball. You could kind of do a Street Fighter Sagat kind of game
Oh
plan.
yeah, Yeah, tiger shot, tiger shot, tiger shot, tiger knee.
I want to be able to do that to people and get them mad.
Yeah.
Kind of like, so, okay, this is the kind of thing I imagine I would like him to have. Obviously, he's going to have portals, it looks like, so I don't have to worry about that. But I would like him to have Spirit Ball, and then maybe you hold the input and it charges the Ghost Ball.
I mean, that would also allow it to be dash cancelable, which would be something pretty strong in Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah, and then I would like to see low slide back. I thought low slide was actually a pretty cool move.
Yeah, low slide was an excellent addition to Noob's kit. The one thing, the only thing I personally want to see with Noob, I'm kind of glad they didn't bring back the sickle, because even though I love the sickle, it doesn't fit with this particular design. So the one thing I really want them to do is I want them to go all out with his fatalities, because Noob in the NRS era has yet to miss with his fatalities, so the bar's set pretty high. And since they're too far out, we're not really going to speculate too much on the guest characters. Me personally, I'm most excited for Conan, just because I'm like, I hope Conan. It's mostly because I'm writing a serious amount of copium with him, because I hope that they draw from more than just the movies. Like, again, draw from the weird tales and the old comic books, the Marvel shit, you know? Take from the time that he crossed over with Wonder Woman, for crying out loud. Go nuts with this guy.
Yeah. You know, that was one thing, too, that was weird for me, because I already knew that, too, about the history of Conan as a character. And all I can think of is, why didn't they just save this for Injustice? This could have just been an Injustice 3 thing.
My personal theories about what Mortal Kombat 1 was originally supposed to be aside, yeah, Conan in Injustice would probably have made a hell of a lot more sense, especially since with the gear system, you could give him all kinds of swords.
Well, the problem is people say that about MK1, but I have, like, confirmation from people who know devs in the building that there was never an Injustice 3. It was never converted from anything.
Yeah, see, and I've come around to accept that, but there's still that part of my brain that is just like, why does Tanya have Stephanie Brown's weapon? Why is this, like, ripped right out of a superhero comic? What's going on here? Like, it's you know what, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, it's delusional. But it's like, I just can't stop thinking about it. And it's like, I know this is not the case. But, like, was Tanya almost Stephanie Brown?
Well, I mean, I will say this, though. MK1 might be trying out ideas for the next Injustice game, and that is why there are things that look kind of like things from Injustice.
I can totally get behind that. Especially, again, cameos can easily become sidekicks.
Yeah. So, and I don't know if that's what their next game will be, because truth be told, I do think they really mean it, and they're going to do it this time when they say that they're kind of committed to supporting the game long term.
Right, like you said, like you said, Mortal Kombat 11 kind of had to have the plug pulled due to extraneous situations, i.e., it flopped like a fish.
Yeah.
So it had to bounce back.
There's so many people that were MK11 defenders that don't believe me, but, like, think about it. They had to have licensing and royalty agreements with Kerry Chikawa, Sylvester Stallone, and Pete Weller. How much do you think those cost?
Especially since they already fucked up on one already expensive deal with Evil Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which fun fact, I think to my knowledge, that is the furthest a guest character has ever gotten in development for a Mortal Kombat game before they had to be cut. So I bet you, like, they were super far along, but they had to, basically shred, half a year's work on Ash Williams. So
Yeah,
that was probably like the first major nail in the coffin for Mortal Kombat 11 for me. Was like, in my mind, was like when the Ash deal fell through, they had to have known that, they had to have started seeing the writing on the wall at that point.
yeah, but we still don't even know what the deal with that was, right? Like why that even happened.
Yeah, we don't know why the deal suddenly dropped or why it was as late as it was, but from a timing perspective, it couldn't have been much worse.
Yeah. Um, but because that's the thing too, people don't understand about like voice acting royalties, especially the kind of things celebrities do, is they not only get paid for their initial voice work, they get paid like a portion of
All sales.
every sale of the game, and then they get paid every portion for sale of the DLC individually apart from sales of the game. Even if they're not in the base game, right? They're still paid because they did work for that game.
Yep.
And then on top of that, they're anytime the game appears on stream, on TV or whatever, and they're on it, they're paying another royalty payment for that.
Yep.
So that's a literal money sink that they put in, that they put effort into.
And spent months on before the plug was pulled. I'm not sure if you saw, but we actually have confirmation of they were intending on releasing official Mortal Kombat 11 promotional material. I think it was actually the movie pack that had the Conan Kodal skin and the Ripley Jackie skin. And with that skin pack came a interesting copyright note for Ash Williams, basically saying Ash Williams was coming. That was about, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 3 weeks before the Aftermath trailer came out, and we got RoboCop instead.
Right.
Which caused the massive confusion, which unveiled the Ash Williams deal falling through. So it's like...
Yeah, but they also accidentally let the DLC news stinger that went up on the game's home screen had Ash Williams on there initially for the combat pack.
Yeah, exactly. So whether they shot themselves in the foot with that or not, I don't think they did. But with the Ash Williams deal falling through, yeah, Mortal Kombat 1 was in serious trouble at that point, and it couldn't ever really bounce back. Which I don't think is going to be a problem with MK1.
Yeah, that is a thing that a lot of people don't want to admit, but yes, MK11 sold a lot, but I think if you were to look at what it cost them, though, in the
Reputation department,
everything on top of reoccurring payments they had to make to people, I bet it will turn out the game was a negative profit. I think it probably was.
Or cut too close for their liking, at the very least.
It was basically just profitable.
Exactly. So they were like, let's not do that anymore. And for better and for worse, we got Mortal Kombat 1 out of that. So I think that just about covers it, because we really can't say too much about the guests unless, you had any hopes for any of them, but you're a famed guest character hater, so I don't know.
I have one topic we can go over to end it if you want to talk about one more thing related to the game.
Shoot.
Are we expecting or anticipating gameplay changes with the expansion?
Fuck yeah, we are. We've seen it, actually, with Sub-Zero Sub-Zero cameo getting a brand new move where he freezes his ally, and if the ally strikes, and if the opponent strikes the main character while they're frozen, they become frozen. So they gave Sub-Zero's ice parry. We saw that in the most recent Cyrax trailer. So I absolutely believe we're going to be seeing, there's probably a major reason why we haven't seen a lot of the massive changes they were promising was because of tournament season, right? Like you don't want to be throwing brand new moves into the mix when somebody might only have 2 weeks to figure out this new move before a major tournament where they could probably win tens of thousands of dollars, if they were winning like Evo or something, right? So
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Yeah.
That's probably why, like, now that we're coming into this major expansion, we're probably going to be seeing. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more new moves coming out. We might even see. New cameo ambushes. Like Frost, I think was just the beginning. The ability to create a corner is super neat, but I'm willing to bet you that Movado, for instance, will get a new mine that prevents the opponent from jumping, but but costs half a cameo bar.
Maybe so. I still think the solution with Frost is they just need to make it so if you hold the input for the wall, she calls the wall and the orb at the same time.
You know what? I would be down for that. Even if you had to just if you turn orb into an ambush, that's literally all you have to do. And then Frost is a top level cameo, because Frost has a lot going for her. She's just missing that one thing, right? She's missing that one good ambush. And Wall, I think, is halfway there.
I also think, though, well, no, the thing is I would do more to her. Like, I could get into, like, a really in-depth discussion about, like, what mechanically I think the game should get. Like, so, for example, like, I really like Flawless Block in this game negating chip damage, but I do think because it is a legacy NRS playstyle, there should still be the ability for characters to win by attrition with chip damage, like Black Manta did. So on some levels, so for example, I think that when Frost does the multi punches when you hold her neutral cameo, I think that should shift with Flawless Block.
I like that. That's a plus. I mean, you could apply that to all kinds of moves. Punch walk. What's another cameo move that hits multiple times like that? Motaro's turret. If you somehow get that going, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's a thing they can do for base roster characters too that I think would help. Like Shang. One of the things is that his zoning is not scary enough, and part of that is because he can't put pressure on you because he can't chip you to death.
Yeah, right? because Flawless Block kind of chews him up for breakfast at that rate.
Right, so if his fireballs just always did chip damage, no matter what you did, I don't even know they have to change a single other thing about it.
Yeah.
But that is kind of a thing missing from the game is like, and I think that's why zoners are not good in this game, and they weren't good in MK11 because you just flawless blocked and undid the damage, right?
Yeah, right.
So that would bring zoners, I think, back into being good. I've even said before that I even think you should apply to Reiko. I think the Ninja Star should not be able to be flawless blocks.
That's a bit spicy, but I mean, as you said, he was a zoner first, right? So it would make sense for his multi-hitting projectiles to, even if it was instead of negating all the chip damage, you just took half the chip damage, that would be fine, right?
Yeah.
Because at the very, it rewards you for flawless blocking because you're taking less chip damage, but you can still die if you don't get in on this guy.
Yeah. So things are like that, or things I would like to see them experiment with. I also personally think, and I don't think they'll ever do this because, like, the budget required, but part of me wonders if MK would not benefit from having, like, multiple choices of fatal blow. Like, an example would be, like, if instead of a failed blow when he's at low health, then Johnny could just have, like, infinite hype until the round is over.
Oh, I get you. Different ways to spend your fatal blow. I really like that. Especially because, I mean, multiple supers have been a thing since Street Fighter Alpha, I want to say.
Yeah. Alpha.
So, it's been a thing for a while, and they're definitely at least experimenting with different animations with the cameo system, allowing you to kind of switch back and forth there. But I totally agree that
Yeah.
there should be like you should have a fatal blow, a lethal rage, and something else maybe that would have different utility. So like your fatal blow is your super move, you get that. Your lethal rage is, well, it would be a toned down version of MK versus DC's Combat Rage, and it has to be toned down because nobody wants to experience unblockable touch of deaths that can happen off of Breaker. And whatever the third one is, I think it would be a cool idea for like if it either gave the character infinite meter for a limited amount of time because meter in this game does not connect to super, or if they have a specific gimmick like like Farah's Pain and Gain or Ashra's Orbs or Johnny's Hype, it triggers their maximum state. So it's like
Yeah.
so like for Johnny Cage, it would be like, as you said, full hype, maybe even infinite hype for a certain period of time. Farah
Yeah.
with Farah as your cameo, you would instant. Oh no, wait, would that even work? No, yeah, well that would work because that's a universal feature. So like, what you would do is that you would call in a teamwork, and then Farah would give you guaranteed level 2 pain and gain, which 33% damage is nothing to sneeze at in Mortal Kombat 1. Or if you're Ashra, all of a sudden you've cursed the opponent with 3 orbs, and any Ashra main that gets a hit confirm on somebody with 3 orbs is a very happy player.
Yeah.
That woman's damage is unholy when she has 3 orbs on you, but I think that about covers it for what I wanted to talk about for MK1 for now. I was very happy to have you on board here, Cherny.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I'm always down to talk about MK and potentially say things that make the NRS community upset too. It's like I part with the bag.
Well,
Like,
I'm sure there'll be another opportunity because that mention of major changes has tickled my brain because I love mechanically making character concepts and stuff like that. Like I've made entire move sets for characters in various games just for fun.
Yeah.
I get giddy at the idea of like, ooh, if we can go crazy with balance changes, what would we do? One, for instance, that I think would be fun would be if Liu Kang had a full screen version of his teleport.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like there are even changes in buffs. So like the smoke, I think he's a good character, but listen, it might just be the autism, man. But like, the more complicated my fighting games are, the more I like them.
I get it.
So I just want more options across the board in this game, and they're heading in a good direction compared to other games that they've had. I do think they are. It's just more of a question of whether the community is really going to give them the shot to do that or not, and I hope they will because, yes, I know that some people don't like the game. They don't like the cameo system. They don't like things that are, typical for games with assists, like being able to do full screen movement to assist to cover it and shit like that. But at a certain point, I really do feel like a lot of the complaints about this game come down to skill issue problems. It's not the game's actually bad, or that the game awards bad gameplay or whatever.
You know
But
what?
the only time it was doing that was launch Cyrax. That was the only time.
Yeah, and when they uncorked launch Cyrax for a little bit there, people got a friendly reminder of why horizontal chopper should always cost both bars.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy when I saw people were like, "Oh, you don't understand, dude. This is good for the game. It's going to make the game better." And not only did it not have any impact on watching tournaments, right, because Chameleon was still the most used cameo, Cyrax never appeared on the Final Combat. Was it Final Combat or was it Combo Breaker that was that?
Where he didn't show up at all.
Yeah, or was it Evo? Might have been Evo. But like, there were no Cyrax users in the top 16. So like, not only did they put in back in something by accident that made the game very boring to watch, it had no impact on the game at a high level anyway, so they just added in a lower level of the game, like the brackets being more boring to watch potentially because of people using Cyrax, and then the game still looks the same with Chameleon everywhere at the highest level. So, it's like it didn't do anything for the game on in either way. And I do think it matters that fighting games be fun to watch. I think that's a big thing that is important.
Agreed. And Mortal Kombat 1 is taking this in a direction that is very exciting. At least with the 3 characters we're going to be getting in September. I'm less optimistic about the guest characters, praying that Conan is fun and that T-1000 surprises me. Because, I mean, Liquid Metal's going to be fun to see and all, but you're going to have to do more than spikes to impress.
Yeah. By the way, I have one more question for you, okay?
Yeah.
This is a survey I'm currently taking. I took it on Twitter, and I could not believe that people answered what I'm about to tell you about.
In a certain way?
It is a very common thing for Tom or I to call each other. It's some nonsense hour. So, like, he called me at 5 in the morning yesterday just to tell me that I am the king of sticking up for having games that have low power levels. And he started going on about MK9. I'm not going to bog you down with the details of that conversation. Tom says, with no alterations to the characters whatsoever, and because the games are similar enough mechanically, he said that Kano, who we all know is an NPC, practically an MK9,
Yeah.
would be MK1 Smoke. Frame data is the same, everything's the same. I think this is a crackhead take.
This is certainly a crackhead take. Somebody cracked his head. What the hell?
There's no way.
Like,
There's just no way MK9 Kano beats MK1 Smoke.
like, I get Smoke has troubles, but like, the MK9 low tiers are horrible. Jade, Shiva, Kano, they're terrible. Unfortunately, like if you want a better low tier that could actually reasonably beat Smoke, from an old NRS title, I would say Grundy in Injustice 1 might.
Yeah, Grundy would do that, but
Grundy was fucking. But Grundy would be broken in any other game than Injustice 1, so.
Yeah, but like, Tom is so convinced that the power level across the entirety of the roster of MK9 was so much higher than this game that Smoke would lose to a Kano player.
I think MK1 Smoke would not do very well in Mortal Kombat 9. I will say that, because Mortal Kombat 9's top tiers were absolutely bonkers. But
we're talking
but
MK9 Kano.
But against Kano? Nah, dog. Shiva you would have a better argument for than Kano. Because at least Shiva has a 16% fireball and an unblockable stomp to work with.
Yeah. And, I posted a poll on Twitter about this, and 60% of the poll voted that Kano would beat Smoke. I was like, what?
No! Did they miss the part? Did they miss the part that this was Mortal Kombat 9 Kano?
I specify MK9 Kano versus MK1 Smoke.
No. Even without cameo, even like I would dare say, even if Smoke couldn't turn invisible and lost Smoke Bomb, he could still beat MK9 Kano.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It was just,
MK9 Kano was. I genuinely hate that character because that character was terrible to play. But every time you fight him in the AI towers, that Kano ball always came out of left field, and I could never block it. I couldn't.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, stop it.
But yeah, I don't know. People on the podcast will see. I think there are people who are thinking that I'm coming on this episode and there's like some kind of like beef or hostility because I'm an MK1 defender and Tom and Dave are not fans of the game. But I mean, they're like two of my best friends in the scene. But like, listen, bro, we're just old heads, which means we just like to argue.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you were playing fighting games in the early '90s, right?
Yes.
I was born in 1997, so.
Yeah, I'm 35 now.
Yeah, you're.
And so yeah, like, and that's just how it goes. But I'm not kidding. Sometimes Tom, he just calls me up in like the early AM because he wants to argue about something I said.
You know what? I'm gonna extend the offer. If Tom and you and the other guys want me to join in, just to kind of shoot the shit from a I don't know what I am, like, because I'm a lore whore. I love playing the game, but I also understand it mechanically. I don't know. I'm just a geek. Just can't.
I would say you're more of a. Like, people would say it's a casual, but I don't think it's casual to me, because a casual is someone who doesn't understand how the game actually works.
Yeah.
So I would pin you more in what I would say you're like a competitive enthusiast, maybe.
Yes.
Like, you like everything about the games, but you're not yourself devoted to being somebody who could be at the top of the games, but you respect the craft of doing it.
Especially since I tried, bro. Like, I tried back in 2016, 2017. There was no way I was going to be able to hang with those guys. And it's okay to know your limits, but you won't know them unless you try. So.
Yeah, well, I don't like people saying that because, I mean, listen, a lot of people would say I'm over the hill age-wise. Trying to get started because we started at like 29 or 30. Ugh. But not really. I mean, like, if you have a problem with reactions, you can train those. It's the same as like any muscle. You can do exercises to improve that.
Right.
If you know how to practice with like efficiency, like you know how to really use your limited time, then that's not a problem.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of people kind of fear-monger themselves and like how hard it is to actually get good. Now, what actually is hard, and I will tell you this from experience because of people who've like wanted me to teach them and stuff like this.
Yeah.
The discipline is 100% the part that people really lack.
Yeah. Like I know for a fact that if I dedicated to it, I could get really good. It's just I never really had the desire to go that hard because, I mean, I had enough fun watching you guys and getting my ass kicked by you guys.
Well, okay, like for example, here's an example of one thing that I found that no one else had even tried to like laugh or think about. So, I don't know if you remember Injustice 2, or if you knew this, that when Atrocitus did his EX Rage Charge, that was his, wake up attack, right? When he did EX Rage Charge, the last hit was backsteppable. Did you know that?
Are you talking about the last hit that sends you flying?
Yes.
What is that? What was it?
It was his wake-up attack, where you would, like, fly through the air and just punch over and over.
Yeah, I understand that, but no, like, what was special about that last hit?
You could backstep it. You backdash it.
I did know that, actually, because there is just enough of a gap there, and because Injustice 2 has invincible backdashes, you can backdash that. One thing, yeah, go ahead. You're speak on Atrocitus.
Okay, so the thing about that matchup, when it came to Manta, that people didn't know was that Manta. So this is the thing: is you could, if you wanted to, you could duck and do like a down one on reaction, float them for a combo, right? And most characters in the game could not take advantage of that backdash gap. It was mostly useless. But Manta could do an option select backdash that punished both the meter burn and the meterless version of Rage Charge. And it made the matchup so unplayable because he could like do a meaty OS on that wake up attack that would stuff it, and if it didn't stuff it and confirm into a full combo, you got to block, then you got to backdash, you got to do 1, 2, 3 into whatever.
So for those for those who kind of got lost in the numbers and the jargon there, what Cherny was talking about was effectively Black Manta had a means to beat 2 options at once on Wake Up with Black Manta, which effectively using one move effectively. That's what an option select is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I have the terminology right. So by having this option select, Atrocitus cannot wake up on Black Manta without eating a full combo punish, which is bad because Atrocitus's wake up game is already not great.
Yeah, and there was also so the thing is, this is actually kind of hard to do. It was very hard to do actually consistently.
Yeah.
But to make sure I had it down, and it was at a point where the only Atrocitus that was able to beat me was like Coach Steve. Everyone else had to switch off their characters, and the problem is it was almost frame perfect. So I would go before tournament if I had the Atrocitus in my bracket, and I practiced that meaty option select backdash OS punish. I would do it like 50 times. I had to do it 50 times in a row, no mistakes. If I screwed up any part of it, I'd start over.
Yeah, and that's the thing I want to highlight, is that's the level of dedication you need to really reach that upper echelon. And most people, for whether it's because of disciplinary reasons or for timing reasons or, you know, whatever reason under the sun you have, you might not be able to do that. But know that it's not because you physically can't. Everybody can do it. It's just a matter of being able to have the time. If you don't have the time, I, for one, personally, completely understand. But if you're being a defeatist about it, that's what grinds my gears. Because, like, yeah, I'm a competitive enthusiast, and I know I would get, and I know that I frequently get my butt kicked by competitive players, but frequently isn't always. I've taken games off of people before, so sometimes you just have to go at it. And if you really want to be good at anything, really, just always pour your heart into it, because you can't be your best if you don't give your best.
And I think that's why I see it too, and like a lot of people who are aspiring to be competitive, is they listen. For anyone listening to this right now, I'm just gonna tell you, ranked does not do jack shit for you. I think people often forget that Sonic Fox during Injustice 2's lifespan, he said 70% of my time is training mode, not playing the game.
Yeah, because you're labbing everything.
Yeah, like, that's one thing, like, I want to get back into in MK1 that I stopped doing with Injustice 2. Was in Injustice 2, that is how I played. I would lab for 2 or 3 hours. And then I maybe play actual games for like an hour or 2. But the majority of my time was labbing stuff.
You know what would be really cool if they ever get around to doing crossplay for this thing? Because as I understand it, you're an Xbox player, right?
No, I'm PlayStation only right now.
Oh, sweet. I'm on PS5, so we can play. So if one of these days, if you want to mostly shoot the shit while you lab with me, I'd be down for a 2-3 hour lab session.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I'm happy to do that with anyone, because some of it does come down to is that there are a lot of people, and I have to say this, right? So people will say that they don't like it, the top players are like they get Hollywood, like they won't play with you because they don't perceive you as being a big enough name or good enough. But you have to understand, man, if you're someone who's competitively minded, you can teach people how to get better and play. But you will become worse if those are like your practice buddies. It's like nothing personal. It's just that the nature of keeping up the craft of how good you are at this stuff mandates that you be like very selective and almost elitist to a degree.
Well,
It
because
just kind of
it's like when you're playing chess. Again, you brought this analogy up earlier, and I wholly agree. Chess. When they play using the ELO rating system, somebody with a lower score beating somebody with a higher score, there stands to be a larger point shift when that happens. So a lot of the times what happens is that the guys with 25 3 35 4000 elo, when you start getting really high, will start to kind of stick in cliques with each other. That's just because they don't want to hamper the skills that make them as best as they can, right? And as much as teaching other players is always a fantastic thing to do, you have to be careful with how you do that, otherwise you risk throwing the balance off.
Yeah, that's also why, like I tell a lot of people, if they want to learn like a new character, there's a lot of like common sentiment that they say, oh, well, if you want to learn a new character or a new cameo, you just go in a casual match. You should never do that. As someone who spent out doing both, nothing but ranked or nothing but casual matches, the quality of player in casual match is just so far below even who's in ranked that you will get away with so many things that just never work, actually.
Yeah, and even then, I don't do online. I do what works in the lab, because if it works in the lab and I can get it consistently, it can work online.
Yeah, and the other problem is, and this is like another thing that is going to be really fucking dweeby and nerdy sounding, right? But it's a thing you have to think about. The biggest thing I've noticed, it's like a thing that fighting game players who are trying to become good have a problem with. And this is a thing I don't think you need to be like very far along skill-wise to comprehend, is you guys need to learn what a decision-making matrix is, or a permutation matrix, because fighting games are defined by what are the options after this situation occurs.
Exactly, and and it again, like chess or like competitive Pokemon. Usually, one thing that makes those a little more approachable is that you have the time to think out your moves. In fighting games, you don't.
Yeah, you have. Well, it depends. Like, reaction in fighting games is a hard thing to talk about because there's a universal point of reactability, which is like 20 frames. But the thing is, certain animations can make things that are faster than that reactable.
Sound as well, because humans react to sound faster than visual cues.
Yeah, so that's also, and I always think it's kind of funny that I feel like NRS, they put a nod to that because of the fact that Baraka's overhead looks like the start of his low, and it has the blade noise, even though he's not doing anything. I kind of think like, sometimes I think that move was intentionally designed to like mess with your reactions in that kind of a way.
Yeah, I can totally get that.
But yeah. Anyway, yeah. I'm excited for the future of the game, though. I think it's only going to get better from here. Now we'll see if I end up being wrong or whatever. You know, a lot of people, they still can't let go of me saying Fujin was dog shit on day one in MK11. But, you know, sometimes I'm wrong, but most of the times I've been right. I called Cyrax meta. I was saying since the launch day of this game, I gotta be honest, I do not like Natara right now very much. I always thought she was kind of a shithead character that did not need to be buffed because the consequences of buffing that character are not good for the game long term. and now people are realizing, like, after believing these Natara players about how bad she is, what a fraud she is.
And like, I don't mind some of the Natara buffs. Like the way that they flipped dive kick, I think was honestly interesting. I don't know if it was interesting because meter burn makes it safe and then meterless is a launch. But one thing you have to be careful with when buffing characters like Natara, which I think they may have done a little too much on, is they may have shored up a few too many of her weaknesses.
Say that again. Sorry.
I was just saying that with the buff, they may have shored up one or two too many weaknesses on Natara.
Yeah, well, the problem is regular dive kick launches and is now safe, unless it's unblocked. And meteor dive kick is safe with pushback, and it also still launches, and it can't be upblock punished. So, what the fuck?
I mean, she does like to play dive kick. It's funny though that she does dive kicks better than Kung Lao.
Yeah, but that's also a problem I have with dive kicks in this game. Is it's a general issue I have. Is they're too they need bigger hurt boxes, man, because right now they're, in my opinion, dive kicks, instant air dive kicks, they're shallow, are actually where the real shimmies in this game are at. That's why I do not believe these Sub-Zero players that cry about how bad he is, because anytime he's slightly negative, if he has instant air dive kick, he hits you for hitting anything.
Which is so funny to me because, like, Sub-Zero never had a dive kick until Injustice 2, and that was a clone move that he stole from Noob Saibot. So they gave him and then they gave him a dive kick in this game, and I really have to figure out how to get damage with Sub-Zero just for my combo compilations for swaggy reasons, but Sub-Zero's dive kick scares me sometimes.
Yeah, and that's also the problem I have with Natara right now, is that even if you have her on defense, anytime you want to throw her, you're risking getting instant air dive kicked. It's, like, not worth the risk at all.
Yeah. Could you bait that out with some sort of anti-air move?
What do you mean?
Like, if the Natara player expects you to go for a throw and baits it out and tries to bait you out with an instant air dive kick, are there anti-air moves that would be fast enough to catch that, do you think?
Yes, but they have to be predictive. If you try to react to seeing her jump backwards, you get smoked. And then if you do the reaction, she just does, I think her double low is her sweep, isn't it? I think it is.
Yeah, where the first hit special cancelable. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, and then if you do that, she just does the low into starting a combo, because now she gets low into light into meterless dive kick, because it'll low profile your anti-air option.
Yep. That's the thing about Natara, is that balancing her is a scary act, because whenever she touches you, she chews through your health. And I've seen Natara players work their damnedest to make that character look broken before the buff. And now that she's buffed, she really is a creature of the night.
Yeah, I don't like her design at all in this game right now. I think it's it's like her current version is like, what if we mix upgraded Jackie with Brainiac? That sounds good.
With a DOT era, and I think she has 6 different combo extenders or something.
I forgot, with Injustice 2 Scarecrow trait, and yeah, that's good. That'll do. That's how we'll do it. That's like, there's no way to make this character at all, except for, like, wouldn't it be funny if we did this and that?
Yeah. And here I thought Omni-Man's Viltrumite stance was silly.
Yeah, but all right. Anyway, yeah, I'm yapping. But I'll go ahead and let you go for the night. I appreciate you having me on. You can hit me up anytime for whatever. I'm
Yeah.
usually pretty available.
Yeah, I'll try and hit you up for that long term practice session if you're keen, because
Okay.
I don't know what if you're going to be doing that Saturday, but I think I might have Saturday night open for that.
Well, I think Tom, Dave, and I are doing a podcast tomorrow night, but I'll let you know. I don't know.
Okay. And if not, I might be able to try something for Sunday, but but with the life of adults, it'd be what it be. So I'm just gonna do this real quick. Don't forget to be awesome, and thanks for stopping by the front porch, and we'll see you guys on the other side.